Good morning and welcome to February 3rd, 2026 non-action meeting for the Grays Harbor County Commissioners. I'm Georgia Miller, District 1 County Commissioner.
Rick Hall, District Number 2.
Vicki Rains, District Number 3.
Great. Today we do not have any bids, but we do have a scheduled presentation from the Grays Harbor Conservation District with Nate Jackson. Do you want to go ahead and come on up to the table?
Yeah. Also, I wanted to introduce you to our new district manager, Misty Cool.
Hi, brought some materials here just to pass around. I don't have enough for everybody, but one is our annual work plan. Thank you. Whoops. Okay. And the other is our biennial report.
Can we keep these? Okay, thank you. We'll take it away.
So yeah, I came here about a year ago and gave a very similar presentation. So we just wanted to come back, let you know that we're still here and doing stuff, and just a chance for you to also meet Misty, our district manager. So please feel free to interrupt me at any point with any questions. You'll recognize a lot of this, but there's some updates. So this is a Conservation District 101 presentation. Something that I hear almost every day from members of the public is this question: what is a conservation district? So it is a community-based hub of natural resource expertise and funding, staffed and led by locals who understand the needs of landscapes and their constituents. All right, next slide, please. So we are one of 45 conservation districts in the state of Washington. There are 3,000 CDs nationwide. We're non-regulatory. Like I said, locally led. Our board of supervisors and staff, all local. We're 100% grant funded. This picture is O'Leary Creek. Okay.
O'Leary Creek, yeah.
That's fine. You can do the next slide. Thank you. Okay. So what do? We address natural resource concerns. I apologize for this acronym, SWAPA HE. I'm not a fan of this acronym, but this will show you what is natural resource concern. SWAPA HE is soil, water, air, plants, animals, human resources like your labor hours, and also energy, any kind of energy, fuel, electricity, whatever. So these are some examples from our actual communication with landowners here in Grays Harbor. A big one is the one at the top. My stream side property eroded. I'm worried about future winter flooding. I have noxious invasive weeds on my property. They're out of control. The timber behind our house is really dense. Some of our trees are starting to die. What should we do? Let's go to the farm. I was told I need to submit permits and a design for my ag project, and I don't know where to start. And finally, I'm a local teacher and want to do more outdoor education. Are there any programs we can join? So this is just kind of an overview of some of our natural resource technical assistance requests that we receive.
Can I stay there for just a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
So on property eroded, I'm seeing recent pictures of our boat landing down here. Is that something you can involve yourself in, those things, public things, or do you have to work with people?
No, we've done some public, like City of Aberdeen Parks and Rec. We've done a few minor, like very small planting projects in like Zelasco Park, Stewart Park, Kirklebank Park.
Okay. Yeah, I saw the plantings in
Yeah.
Zelasco Park. Yeah.
Yeah. So
How are those doing?
Not great, but some of the plants are still there. Yeah. It's good.
The state agencies would take care of the boat launch area
Right.
by the bridge.
Right. Yes.
They would take the lead and we would provide support.
Yeah. Yeah. We're always happy to partner up. And if there's something we can't do, we're happy to point people in the right direction. Yeah. Like this flooding assistance stuff. we're noticing a lot of small grants pop up that we don't have access to. The landowner needs to apply for it directly, so we try to share this information out
Okay.
when we see it too.
We did a big erosion project, did you know, out on the Satsa
Mhm.
by the Willis property, the
Sure.
Chapman's property, that they did a lot of plantings and a lot of erosion control, which was really good, and we partnered with your agent Anthony,
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
led that one.
Yeah, you'll see that in the.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Well, I won't steal your thunder then.
Yeah, I guess we can move on to the next slide, please. Okay, so when we receive these questions and concerns, we'll follow up with phone or email. Sometimes that's all we need to do to provide technical assistance and point that landowner in the right direction. But many times we'll do a site visit and talk about possibilities that may address those natural resource concerns, including maybe helping the landowner find some grant funding. So we can move on to the next slide. Okay, this is our year at a glance. We've got 70+ active projects and adding more, it seems like every week right now. It's the season that we're in. As far as landowners who have reached out to us, we've got 133 waitlisted that we're hoping to work with all of them as soon as it's possible. We do provide cost share assistance, including to ag producers and small forest landowners. We'll talk about that more later. We've got pretty diverse programming, ag, small forest landowner management, watershed restoration, like Vicki alluded to, marine resiliency, and education and outreach. So we're managing grants large and small. I'll show you a little overview of some of our projects coming up here. Next slide, please. So here's a farm and forest project. Before, during, and after. Let's get the next slide. This is in East County. Okay, so this is what we refer to as a heavy use area. This landowner was having problems with soil compaction and runoff. So with our help, we locked in a design and helped them find a contractor to complete this project. It's following NRCS guidelines, Natural Resource Conservation Service. It also has guttering and an infiltration trench, so it drains and the animals have a place that's high and dry to feed, and they also have a place to store their hay. And the landowner chose their own contractor and then paid for the project. And after we certified that it was completed, we reimbursed the landowner, just a standard cost share project that we do. Next slide, please.
It's good to get the animals out of the mud.
Yeah. Okay, so forestry. This one is also in East County. Let's do the next slide. Okay, this was also a cost share project. Our district forester did a site visit, evaluated the plots, helped the landowner find a contractor after the grant was awarded, ensured that the work was done properly, and then after it was certified completed, landowner was reimbursed. This is something that we do often. This is one of our smaller projects, like less than $7,000. But yeah, it's great. Our forester's always happy to talk on the phone and do a site visit, and he's real passionate about these projects. So next slide, please. Okay, this is what Vicki was talking about here, kind of the big stuff that we do. Satsip River, reach scale restoration projects. Yeah, you can go to the next slide. Okay, so you'll see at the end of this section what the bank used to look like. It was 20 foot and higher, just straight, sheer, like a cliff that was eroding. The farmer here at the confluence of the Satsip and Chehalis was losing acreage, a lot of acreage over the years. So let's do the next slide. So in addition to sloping the bank, you can see here, this is a Washington Conservation Corps crew planting willow stakes. So these little sticks that they're pounding into the ground will root. But you can see behind them, we've got some large wood that's driven in 30 feet and large rocks and root wads and big, large woody debris that's anchored there. So in the name of salmon habitat restoration, this grant was funded, but it also provides a real benefit to the farmer. So let's do the next slide. Yeah, so as you can see, these little clusters of looks like piles of wood, these are called engineered log jams or ELJs. And then behind them, you can see just like big fat stakes, like telephone pole size stakes. That's what we call a flood fence. It also traps debris that's roaring down the river on these high flow days. And then we also complement that with planting. And the vehicles that are parked there in that dirt patch, I believe the farmer was able to replant that within 6 months. So, you know, back in business. This was funded through the Aquatic Species Restoration Plan and Office of the Chehalis Basin. We put this out to bid. The work was all done by Brumfield here in Aberdeen. And this was one of our bigger projects. It was over $3.5 million. And this project will continue with maintenance and invasive management over the next 4 years. And we're expanding its reach, moving upstream, trying to do similar projects in the Wainuchi and the hump tulips also in the near future. So next slide, please.
What does this do during our atmospheric rivers?
They're all the structures are still there.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
no further erosion?
well, I haven't really seen,
Okay.
I haven't monitored it personally.
The rocks that you see out there are very similar to what we put in at the Montesano sewage treatment plant
Mhm.
that will redirect that synergy so it hits those ELJs and deflects versus eroding it out,
Yeah.
So it's been they've been very, very helpful. And the first that I saw of them was on the Quinault River.
Mhm.
They have several of them up on that end, but yeah, I know that the upper Satsat needs.
Well, and also, like you said, the project for Wanuchi,
Mhm.
the neighbor's house is getting ever closer to
Right.
the river. And this year was a tough year. The
Yeah.
river took a lot of property.
Make sure that they reach out to, as a side note, to the assessor. Because with Chapman's and, for sure with Chapman's, they were able to do an assessment and they lost a lot of land in that whole big green that's there. And they were able to adjust their property values to help them. So that's occurring on another river. Reach out to Dan.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
I think most of the plantings that were done are gone.
Yeah.
It happens. I mean, when
Yeah.
land goes, the plantings go, but
I
it's
know.
awaiting the bigger project like down here.
Yeah, that's how the timing works out with some of these rounds of planting. And yeah, we try
Do what you
to
can.
account for that and but yeah, and then sometimes occasionally we lose a structure.
No, I would imagine.
So
River's pretty powerful.
yeah.
This sets up, is holding up really well and doing exactly what it was designed to do. I was just there a couple weeks ago and
Yeah.
Good.
yeah, it's looking really good.
Farmers are happy.
Willis family is very happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so in the same program, our watershed restoration program, let's take a look at a pretty big project, but it's more low tech. It's kind of mini ELJs, you can say. Also funded through Aquatic Species Restoration Plan and Office of the Chehalis Basin, and with Washington Coast Restoration Resiliency Initiative. So this project is on Green Diamond land. We've got some streams, Schaefer Creek particularly, where stream cleaning over the years has kind of scoured out the creek and incised it, and it's just the volume of water that comes through is insane. So we're doing some hand-built log jams. Some people would call these beaver dam analogs as opposed to assisted log structures. So bundles of small, kind of something you would see cut at pre-commercial thinning site, held in place with posts that are driven into the ground. Just in an attempt to spread out the flow so you don't have this cut that's just rushing through there. So far, our local crew, with the help of WCC, has built 140 of these jams over the course of about 1 mile at Schaefer Creek, and we're about 5 years in. This project I've seen a lot, and I've seen that it does work very well. We're monitoring it, especially that first mile was like a pilot project. So we've monitored it this whole time, and it really is working. You can see it if you go out there. If you've been out there like I have over the course of years, you can see that it works. So now we're going to do 20 more miles of that. Hand built is going to take a while. Okay, so you can see it just looks like a pile of wood, but if you look closely, these fresh cut sticks that are jammed into the ground kind of hold it in place. Some of them look like this with some large material. Some of them have like bundles of smaller material, and it all does the job. Next slide, please.
So it's not like a beaver dam. It's not
No.
backing the water up. It's just slowing it through big, deep ravine.
Yes.
So it doesn't score.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, so pretty cool project. Let's talk about our education and outreach programming. So we do several volunteer events, both in town and then, out like way up the Wainuchi, Satsa, etc. Watershed education, kind of teaching kids some basic science, data collection, research. Let's get to the next slide. Kids also have an opportunity to raise salmon in the classroom. We also take people out to project sites so they can see what we've done. This picture in the middle, I believe that is also Lower Sats of the Willis property that we looked at earlier. And we do some tabling at local events, the fair, stuff like that.
Farmers market.
Yeah. Oh,
That stream team is awesome.
yeah, the stream team.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the work that they do, and then there's other people that go out and the trash they clean up is just incredible, and that would go into the stream.
Yeah, stream team's doing a lot of trash cleanups, plantings, and then teaching kids how to do like macro invertebrate monitoring in our local watersheds here. So great program. Next slide, please. Okay, I think this is the last program we're going to talk about today, the Marine Resiliency Program. So that critter there in the middle is European green crab. I guess let's talk about it a little bit. Next slide, please.
Alien green crab.
Yeah.
It's delicious, right?
No,
No, they're trying to find a way to fit them in the diet, but they're not very tasty. Some places are cooking them, but
Yeah, I heard kind of processing them down to make a paste or. Yeah.
Fertilizer.
It's illegal to eat those in Washington. We get that.
they're invasive.
yes,
They are.
yeah.
It's illegal to eat
Yeah.
them.
In Washington it is. In Oregon, you can.
Why not illegal to eat them?
I think
I think part of it is they don't want to encourage them because they are invasive and detrimental to other sea life that we.
Yeah.
So,
They look nasty. There's that.
it's, the
Yeah,
max size is like 4 or 5 inches across the carapace, so there's not a lot of meat on it.
Jeff's reported on these a couple of times. Jeff Nelson.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm sure you've heard of this, of course. So we do early detection, assessment, monitoring, and control. That means trapping. Our funding is through WDFW and RCO. So after we trap these crabs, they're frozen, measured, processed for data collection, just kind of helping with the research. And then after that, they are composted to a fertilizer. So that's what we do here. Let's get the next slide, please. So our staff has removed over 100,000 of these from the Chehalis Basin, deployed over 4,000 traps. In 2024, Grace Harbor Conservation District removed 50%, over 50% of all the green crab here in the county. The other people who are trapping are DNR and Quinault Indian Nation. We have lots of partnerships with this. Like I said, DNR, Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, Willapa, Grace Harbor Oyster Growers Association, Quinault Indian Nation, and Washington Sea Grant. So education is pretty key. We do get tons of questions. Oh, can you eat them? What do I do if I find them? So this crew here does a little bit of tabling also. You can see that top right picture, just trying to spread the word and let people know about the European green crab. Next slide, please. Okay, now we're at the end of our presentation here, basically just an overview of incorporated areas that are within our conservation district boundary. Everything except for Westport basically is where we're at. This timeline on the bottom shows the process. City council petition, then our Grace Harbor Conservation District Board of Supervisors petition, followed by our parent organization, the Conservation Commission, annexation petition approval, and then finalized at the Secretary of State office. So thank you for your time. We're happy to answer any questions. Just wanted to give you guys an update on what we've come to. So,
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Questions? Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
I don't have any questions.
Well, I do have one. So I know that, you started out pretty rural, you've been moving into the cities, like talked about Zelasco Park and stuff like that. So why is Westport not included?
I think we just haven't been able to schedule, we haven't been able to get into a meeting.
Well, they also had a changeover in mayors and such. The city has to actually request it. It's not, and you guys did that year before last, I think, when you came to all of us to expand it. And I don't know if it's just transition from Rob over to Ed with the mayor and new council members, if they just haven't done it yet.
It's been a logistics issue, just trying to get in touch with somebody and get the scheduling coordinated. So we made multiple attempts to get on the agenda and get scheduled, but it just hasn't been able to work out.
Is it true that all of the communication that we're still receiving is that they're still interested?
Yeah, they seem to be interested, it's just connecting has been hard.
Makes sense.
Have you been in contact with City Administrator Thomas Kappa?
No, I have not.
Okay. Yeah, that might be a good start.
Okay.
I know when we were on one of the tours, I can't remember which one, you talked about what you were doing in the city in Aberdeen, and it seemed like everybody was really appreciative of it. So
Yeah, there's good stuff to be done, like the storm drain cleaning events that we do. And
The work you guys are doing is great. I mean, it really is helpful to the municipalities as well as the farmers and just regular landowners. Thank you.
thank you.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, then we'll move on with our meeting today.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much. So next we have to approve the agenda. I would like to make a couple changes. I'm going to ask to add 2 items just before the final public comment for discussion with WSU. And then also add an item under commissioners. This would be item number 5 to discuss the commissioners' representation on boards and committees. So with that,
but just,
go ahead.
I'd like to,
I'd like to add, I've got a slideshow to present after discussing items 2, so 2.5.
Okay.
After listening to presentation from Thomas on the payroll process.
discuss the performance of a public employee. They won't take very long. But there's 2 items. Thank you.
So that's 3 and 4.
It's under, I'm sorry, which letter, what section was it under?
The G,
G.
Performance of a public employee.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, how long was that?
2 items, one maybe 5 minutes, one maybe 10.
Okay. Right. With that, I'm gonna rotation a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded to approve the agenda with those additions. Do you have those noted?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The agenda has been approved. This is our first opportunity for public comment. This is public comment on any agenda items being considered this meeting, limited to 3 meetings. Would you please type your comment into the chat box or raise your hand to be unmuted to speak?
There
There's, I'm sorry, say that.
appear to be none according to.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay. There's no public comment. We'll move down to the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion?
I know there was some questions regarding the Timberland Regional Library or comments regarding the Timberland Regional Library appointment, and we're just confirming what Lewis County already did.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
All right.
Aye. Any opposed? Consent agenda has been passed. Next, we have items for discussion under commissioners.
Action.
Excuse me, action items, thank you. Approve and e-sign a 2025 Public Works MOU regarding longevity.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve and e-sign 2025 Public Works MOU regarding longevity. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have approve and sign the Vesta School Bridge Repair Project contract in the amount of $157,700.
So
Second motion.
It's been moved and seconded to approve it and sign the Vesta School Bridge Repair Project contract, the amount of $157,000, $700,000. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have cancel uncollectible personal property tax.
So moved.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to cancel uncollectible personal property tax. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have approve and e-sign Friendly Voice Media website maintenance contract in the amount of $25,200.
So moved.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve and e-sign Friendly Voice Media website maintenance contract in the amount of $25,200. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have discussion items. Commissioner committee and liaison reports. Commissioner Hall, take it away.
Well, continuing our focus on housing. And in your absence, I attended the City of McCleary Development Committee meeting.
Thank you for that.
And very interesting. So a group of citizens got together and they were hearing the proposal. So Rocklands over the last 3 years has accumulated about 450 acres inside the city. And they want to do a master plan development. I've got kind of pictures on the very back page of what a master plan development is, where they go in and they lay out all the streets, all the infrastructure ahead of time, and then they build to it over the years as developers come available that want to make those buildings. Well, so the master plan development has to be allowable in the city of McCleary's comprehensive land plan. And so right now, they're looking for the city to update their comprehensive plan so that they can do a master plan. And this is an amazing opportunity because the developer comes in and does all the infrastructure, and they're not sitting there going like, we'll come in and do this if there's some government money. No. They want to come do it. And so to whatever extent we can be hardwired into the process and give support. I spoke for a minute and said, your county commissioners have passed a resolution. Housing's important. Roglins are good people. I told them about the work that they did at Ocean Spray, building the crazy facility. And so encouraged them on that. On continuing on housing, great work by the staff to find out the RCWs allow special districts the power to actually own rental properties. And that would be in a way, I think, that some of the outlying districts could provide housing if they want to. This came about for the South Beach Parks Recreation has some land. And I know that we're talking about right now with McNichols, there's going to be an RFP for some housing to be developed. And I would think that a taxing district, if they wanted to do that, has the legal ability to do that. They could bid on those contracts. And I think that would disperse housing throughout. Like I think there's fire districts like they're like up by Pacific Beach, they might have some land. And certainly housing is necessary throughout our community. So I thought that was pretty good. The point in time count for homeless people happened in Aberdeen. I'm always impressed by how buttoned up McNichols and his team is to put on these events. We've met with Sam and Scott Boucher about the dune crest erosion. And there's a picture on the second page, which shows, it's a pretty good picture taken in 2024. A berm, a cobble berm was put in front of the Westport by the Sea by the HOV there, but there's like 120 people there, and it was $1 million project to do 700 feet. And you can see kind of how the sand is light, and it's accreting. Once they put that berm in there, there's actually sand building up in front of that. But you can look to the right and you go down and you can see that there's a house about 3/4 of the way down that's almost being inundated. And those people are very concerned about the ongoing erosion, and they're trying to do something to extend that berm. They want to extend it it was 700 feet. They want to go another 1,200 feet. It's like a $2 million lift, or maybe even more.
Is that included, sorry to interrupt you, is that included, this particular project in that, is it CTP? I know we're stuck on that, but I mean, I'm just asking, is it included in that scope?
Yes.
The study is included in that. scope,
Yes. Yes.
Includes this specific area is captured.
Well, Westport and Ocean Shores.
Westport and Ocean Shores. The reason that we talked about and we formed this CTP is there was like 5 unique erosion things going on in Ocean Shores and 4 down in Westport. And we said, well, let's combine that and try to give some leadership. And we were also, remember, we talked about potentially allocating some funds for that, which I'm not sure that we've allocated a lot yet. But yeah, that would be in scope.
I think.
And they've formed an organization and they're trying to get funding, and they're struggling with only 20 properties to come up with $2 million.
I think the county's funds that we have provided have been 0.09 funds for the use of Scott Betcher to be able to do some of that planning work.
And Scott is helping with this. And they've been talking to banks about low interest loans. They've been talking to Assessor Lindgren about what does the impact of impending erosion have to do for property values? Is there some relief possible there?
I just spoke with Scott Betcher last week, and he said that the homeowners are trying to come up with funding on their own, but pretty hefty price tag. I think it was like 125,000 per homeowner at this point.
If everybody participates.
If everybody
If-
participates, which
It's kind of like the drainage district that we're dealing with out there. They may have to do something that's similar to that or to make. I don't know how they're gonna tax that much, but it would be a lot.
I don't know either.
To create a district out there that would be erosion district, then it's really hard to do work out there because the tribes have to get involved. You're right next to the what is it, Chinook tribe? What's right there?
Down Tilt Run?
Yeah, but this way, but they, same with Quinal's,
No.
they're. But they will wanna be involved in anything that takes place in Ocean Shores too, so.
Sure.
But I think there could be other opportunities once this other district gets going, that you could expand to other areas.
Well, I think the work that you've been doing in the north, at that district can apply. And I think we should be looking at a district, maybe a combined district with Westport Ocean Shores. And make it a taxing district. I know it would be a heavy lift to get people to vote more taxes, but when you think about just letting it all erode away.
Well,
It
like,
seems like not a good idea.
like Commissioner Miller has said before, it's up to them to decide how much they wanna pay, how much, I mean, you would create we would help them create their own body.
Right.
and
And then they would
decide.
tax and they would do
Right.
it all on their own.
Right.
But it's too bad. It's too bad the legislature wouldn't shift the funding from the Wishkah wall cut down over to that, because that was like $180,000.
No kidding.
I don't think they really want to talk about it. Not real. Okay, happy topic. Yeah,
Well,
good information on that.
Mhm.
we'll continue to keep working it, but yeah, they're looking for help.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that they're willing to do it with their own money is just amazing. And so we should encourage that and see if we can complete that project. All right, I hurry on here. The Chehalis Basin Partnership, Suresh was at the meeting this last week, and we revisited the nitrate levels at the pheasant farm down there in Chehalis. And the reason that is so interesting to me is because a person tested their well and just stumbled into the fact that it was high nitrate, very high, and that was creating some health problems. And it was like that just chance thing that alerted the whole neighborhood to, we've got a problem here, we're poisoning ourselves, for lack of a better word. And so there's been thousands of dollars, and they think the pheasant farm thinks that they have it under control, the soil testing is passing and stuff like that. But it's just another thing that we need to be aware of as a rural community. If you're on a well, have it tested.
Mhm.
You don't want to be poisoning
Part of
yourself,
the
right?
Stuff that the conservation district is mitigating, like runoff from high impact areas like cows and stuff like that, so that they're redirecting it to be filtered out instead of going into streams and stuff like that. So they actually have some projects that if people know more about them, they can hopefully get some help that way too. I don't know.
Right, no,
for that, but
absolutely.
It's the awareness.
You're not,
it's the awareness.
not only is it running into a stream, but is it running into where you're drilling your water? I mean, so community, be alert about that.
Hey, there's
And then-
programs out there.
Finally, I saw these white swans and which is just a cool picture of why we love it to live and work in Prairie Soccer. I wanted to keep.
You would be surprised how much grass a swan can eat. So
I've
when
heard
you're a
that.
hay farmer, I know they're so beautiful, but when you're a hay farmer, they're actually not a welcome guest.
I've heard
That's
that,
right.
I've heard that, but they sure are pretty.
They are very pretty.
cluster of geese there too.
There
in the
is,
center.
that's what's so amazing about the picture, because you know geese are big,
It's-
right? And they
it's-
look tiny compared to these
Yeah,
things.
The swans are almost herding them together.
That's hilarious.
Commissioner Reeves.
I have just a couple of things. We had our transit meeting. I've had several transit, I have another transit meeting today regarding some union discussion going on. And so keep you guys updated on that as needed. We don't, for the public's awareness, the three commissioners all sit on the Grace Harbor Transit Board, but we do not constitute a quorum. So we can discuss those at any time.
That's nice, that's.
It is. And then I also wanted to provide, I already gave one of these to Wendy, but I wanted to provide you with a handout. Last week I did, I attended the Aberdeen City Council meeting with Scott Betcher and Edna Fund. Edna Fund is the new chair of the Chehalis River Basin Flood Authority. And a lot of times, kind of like with the conservation district today, you don't see the work that's done. You may think that nothing's being done in and about and around you. But we have, in the last decade, we have put in $44 million worth of projects in just the lower basin in Grace Harbor. Just the lower basin to protect. On Thursday, we have a meeting where it looks like we're going to be able to fund with additional funding that's left over, the Farragut pump station, which you could see on that first chart. The area is assessed at $99 million. These are the different sub basins within the city of Aberdeen and then the city of Hoquiam.
Hold on, you said the Farragut?
Farragut over in Aberdeen. It's
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
the second one down. No, you're good, you're good. We're working on Queen now. Raymer Street is done, 10th is being done in Hoquiam. And then Division, I believe, is done. Farragut is what we're working on. Fry Creek is done. But if you go to the next page, you'll see an outline on the projects that come with the North Shore Levee and the North Shore Levee West segment. So while those projects are currently on hold, awaiting funding, we're still doing these pumps because regardless of the levee, the pumps will provide some assistance and keep water flowing and moving away. But there are a lot of these started in, as you can see there, 2012. And then going on to the next page, you can see other projects that we've done. And this one is actually in Centralia and Chehalis, but that particular one around the airport, it pumped out 518 million gallons of water to keep the levee dry in that area. And that's what we're trying to accomplish with the pumps and such that we're trying to do in Grace Harbor County within Aberdeen Oakland. We've also done, you can go to the next page is the Raymer Street pump station in Oakland and the replacement for that. What's interesting is you can see it was completed in 2018, $1.3 million. It pumped 51 million gallons at the January 22 event. And then in 2024, you can see that the project for $1.3 million protected 72 million in assets, over 200 homes, schools, acreage, etc. We're doing some really good work out and about in the lower basin. I'm very proud of the work that's being done. We work very closely with the conservation district. But you'll also see how many of the people in the ag industry we work with. There are dozens of what initially were called critter pads, and then they were called farm pads that you can either during a big rain event run your sheep up onto or your cattle up onto these mounds that they create. Some, depending on the animal, some have to have a little fence built around them because some animals aren't far enough to know they need to stay right there. They just go off on the other side. We also do ones that are large for equipment, like if you have a hay baler or something that is normally left outside, but you don't want it to be flooded. Those pads can come in and then farmers can pull their equipment up there in the event of a large rain event and keep that infrastructure safe. Okay, so I have that. And the other
I just want to comment on that, over the years, because I go to church in the Dry Creek area, and I remember years ago when we'd have like just modest rains, that area would flood out, and so,
in pool.
and the, I don't know if you've seen the pump station there, it's huge.
Yep.
And,
Have you
and
seen
it's-
it operating?
no, I should go over there while
It's
it's
fun.
operating.
It looks like a mini dam when they get those pumps out, and I mean, they're huge. They've got to be 3 feet in diameter.
Yeah, they're huge.
They're huge, and they just thrust and pull that water out of there. The city of Aberdeen's been a great partner with that. And so
And
it's
And so all these big rain events that are happening, and there's no issue. Just feel like, keep up the good work, let's get the levee filled.
Agreed.
yeah. If you could contact President Trump and have him restore that funding, I would cheer you on the entire way.
Good job.
Thank you for that.
But I'm happy. Would you like me to email you the full presentation?
Well, I like this. I really
I
appreciate
think
the
it's
fact that you have the assessed values in
I
there
just
too. that
pulled
protect it.
the part of it out, but I do think that having Scott come circle back would be and have it. I think that when you have that first year under your belt, when you first come in as a commissioner or any new position, and people start throwing things at you, pretty soon you're glazed over and inundated. That it would be good to have like a little refresher thing, and then you would know.
Recording in progress.
Then you would know by the commissioner, as a commissioner, what projects are taking place in your district too. So I think that would help.
Yeah, no, I think this is very good. Good job on this.
Okay, and here is, so I was at the legislative steering committee meeting for the risk pool. And I currently serve as the president of the risk pool this year. And I think that there are some legislative issues that we need to be aware of. I think this is particularly important for Commissioner Miller, who's on the WASAC Legislative Committee. I will tell you that our chair of the Risk Pools Legislative Steering Committee is Commissioner Overbay, who's also one of the co-chairs of the WASAC Legislative Committee, Steering Committee. So,
I
but
like him. He's great.
he's great. He's great. He's
Very
great.
engaged.
He was just last year's president for the risk pool. But you can see where there are what I think is highly important, and I printed this in black and white, and I didn't mean to, but I'll forward it to you as well so that you'll see those links to each of those bills that are there. You can see where the priorities fall. Some may not have been categorized yet, but some are having public hearings, et cetera. There is one. It is,
Cutoff's coming right up, isn't it? Is it
yeah,
fourth?
there is, it's House Bill, I want to say 6259. But it's regarding, court reform and court maximums, and it's one of the reasons, because we have no court limits in Washington state where people can sue for $50 million, $60 million. And there's two things. I don't think that the citizenry understands that when they grant a big payout in a court case,
It's
that
them.
it's us
Yeah,
paying
it's
it,
them paying
it's the
for it, yeah.
taxpayers paying for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6239.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that was 6239 as a priority for WASAC, for the legislative steering committee, so.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, so.
But it's extremely, they had, important to us. People will complain. Commissioners have complained about the premiums that we're having to pay for reinsurance and such. This is why. This is why, is that you have to at some point set a limit to where and it can even be a tiered structure. I don't care, but right now it's just a free for all.
Mm-hmm.
Truly, it really is. And so when I started about a decade ago on the risk pool, our county deductible has been unchanged. So I don't know why I'm pointing at you, Prosecutor Stearns, but
Yeah, a second ago.
yeah. Thank you. Our deductible per case is $25,000. Our reinsurer, meaning that we pay the first $25,000 on a claim for our county. Then the pool pays the first $100,000 after that. And that's what it was when I started on the risk pool. Here we are a decade later, and that $100,000 has grown to $1 million, to $2 million, to $3 million. And now it's $4 million. Because we have large gaps that we cannot get reinsurers for. The state of Washington is a very restrictive state. I've done insurance since 1994. And there are many companies that do not want to do business in the state of Washington. So then we're limited. And we insure up to $10 to $15 million. And then there's other coverages that you can purchase. You purchase earthquake coverage, you can purchase extra liability coverage beyond that if you want a $25 million policy, and that's done by each county can do that. But I think that it's really important that we take a look at these things that are before the legislature. And if you have relationships with specific legislators, either in the 19th or the 24th district or beyond, I would reach out to them. And you can see some of these have already taken place. I just got this on Sunday 1st. And I guess that wasn't that long ago, it's the 3rd, but some have already taken place, some of the meetings, but there are many hearings that are upcoming as well. And I would really ask you to look at the ones that are priority high, that are listed as high. So, and
So this is just for the state. So just
Yeah.
tort claims against the state. And then, so all tort claims, it doesn't say an amount, and then subject to civil arbitration. So that
that's
means-
correct.
Arbitration instead of going before a jury. No court case.
Okay, so this denies then the injured party from a jury.
It was most likely. I haven't seen the language in it, but I mean, that's the purpose of arbitration.
See, the state,
At least sometimes.
No,
they
no,
declare
I-
that you
I'm-
cannot
No, you're-
I'm
appeal the
thinking
decision.
about it because.
you're absolutely correct though on the state, because now the state's going, they might have a claim with through DCYF or Department of Transportation or whatever they have a claim for. They don't have this in place. So they are paying through the nose on some of these issues. So now they're thinking about doing that and including some of its subdivisions, which then we hope that we can get the trickle down to the counties, the cities, et cetera, and be able to protect ourselves better. And I'm not saying that there aren't legitimate cases out there that we should be paying on. Absolutely not. There are. We had a case 2 years ago in Spokane where we had a deputy who was terminated. In our opinion, we go through the whole process as the risk pool, rightfully terminated. Racial slurs were had, sexual harassment, on and on and on. And then they get up and they brought on the stand, and among other things, and are not given their job back, but awarded $19 million. That Spokane gets to pay, and all of our pool gets to pay out. And that's what's really hard. So that 4,000, that first 4 million comes right out of what we have paid in. We pay based upon what the actuary says we need to be able to keep which is all speculative, because I would not want to be an actuary. An actuary does amazing work, but I don't want to assume that this is all you're gonna have, and then you have a jail death or 2 or 3 or 4. So these things are really important, and if you hadn't noticed before today, I'm a little risk averse, and this is why. And it's the taxpayers' money. It's like, and then you're thinking to yourself, well, we can't raise taxes. Well, somehow we got to pay for this. At some point, you have to make sure that the awareness is there as to why we're paying these premiums the way we are.
No, I think the reason I brought it up is that it's an interesting discussion and it should be beyond just the state, I believe. I think they should be toward limits
For
Just in
counties,
general.
in general.
yeah,
Um,
there are with other like your
It's a good discussion.
like with your homeowner policy or your auto policy. It's not called a tort claim, but you have limits. You know, you have an uninsured motorist limit, you have a liability limit that is per person per occurrence. All of those are limits in there. This is
Well,
just-
right, there's a limit to what your exposure, but there's not a limit to what people can ask for.
Yeah, right.
And that makes it the very litigious
It is,
society,
it is.
which I think is not.
But
good.
on our level as a consumer, it typically doesn't go past unless it's something very egregious.
Yes.
Past what your limits would pay. But my point is that the state needs to have limits and allow us to have limits.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very
well,
much.
Along that line, I do sit on the legislative steering committee, and unfortunately, they reconvened right as I was going on my first day of vacation since I took office. So I did miss that. However, I do have a list, and I can forward you their hot list. It came out today, and I should have printed it out. Didn't think about that until I saw yours.
I only printed this because it was short. The hot
Okay.
list still
It'd be pretty long,
Yeah.
right, but I can email it to you and you can.
That would be great.
Just one that is, there's several that are concerning, but one that's concerning is House Bill 1399, and that's concerning sheriff's eligibility. And while I do think it's important that we have qualified candidates, I really believe that the onus needs to be on the voters of the counties to elect their sheriffs. It should solely reside with the voters of the counties, and it should not be a case where the state can then overturn or remove a sheriff from office. There's already things in place. If an elected official is not doing their duties for recall and removal, and so I personally will be, and I've already sent letters to all of our representatives or an email to all our representatives asking them to not support House Bill 1399. So just that, I think our sheriff does a good job. I think it's important that he retains his authority, and that the state government isn't able to just remove a sheriff and appoint their own.
Does seem like a little bit of overreach.
I will, can I
Yeah.
comment on one thing?
Yeah.
I watched testimony last week and I shared it with Georgia. I can forward the link to the two of you as well, but it was one that Representative Walsh, a committee that he serves on, and he actually spoke up and asked the person testifying some questions. But it's specifically related to if you have a vacancy in an elected official position that is nonpartisan.
Oh,
And
interesting.
they don't have a guideline now, so they're looking at implementing one. And
Okay.
yeah, and I asked Georgia, I said, because what was brought up was that, and I would defer to Representative Walsh, but it talks about if a person, I know that the sheriff is no party preference, the coroner is no party preference, myself, that if one of us left, that it was referenced having to hold a special election for that, that a other party would not pick. So I asked Georgia to look at that, not that anyone's going anywhere before their term is up, but I do think that it's important to stay on top of that. But I thought it was interesting.
It's interesting since we're going through this.
Yeah, yeah.
Standard, yeah.
Anyway, sorry to
So,
interrupt.
but that's-
That's okay, that's great.
So the current situation is a special election, or the current situation is there's nothing.
The
It's-
current situation that was discussed is that it would have to go to a special election. That's what I asked Georgia to research with the Attorney General's office. They would make that determination. But it was brought up to to Representative Walsh in that meeting. I'll send you the link to it because it's a recording of the discussion, and it all takes place in the first 5 minutes of the recording, so it's pretty easy.
Nice.
But just
Thank you.
informational.
Yes, if you would please send that, I'm interested in that. Last Thursday, I was asked if I would join, some folks to go up and testify, the Parks Commission, meeting. And that was regarding the Westport Golf Links project. And so I did go up there, got to spend a little bit of time with, Westport Mayor, Ed Walter. And then also we got to spend a little bit of time with Senator Wilson doing some relationship building there. He's trying to secure some funds for a project in Westport. And so I was trying to bat my eyelashes and plead with Senator Wilson to hopefully hopefully get it. Oh,
Why can you don't go bat your eyes at everything?
well, maybe you should try. Maybe you should try that.
Hold on, I had a question.
Yeah, Georgia has it. She said just carry a bat.
So you're up at the Hill legislating for the
Uh,
Westport golf lanes?
Well, no, they met at the Department of Ecology, so that was in Olympia.
Oh, okay,
We went up, and he had a meeting with Adam Birnbaum, and so I just hung out while Ed was doing that. Westport Mayor was doing that, and then we had a scheduled meeting with Senator Wilson. He actually took us to the senator's dining room. So,
Oh, wow.
anyway, so yeah, so. And I also did ask him if he would please, after session is done and things going down, if he would please come and spend some time with the board to talk about what our plans are for the future. And
So what did you testify on?
just gave our support for Westport Golf Links. We had already submitted a letter of support.
Oh, so you didn't testify at a hearing. I think that's where we're confused.
No. In front of the Parks Commission Board.
So it was in front of the Parks Commission board.
Yes,
How are
at
they
Department of Ecology. It's almost been a completely new board since when they presented their project before. So they're re-presenting their project. There was only one previous person on the board. I mean, almost 100% turnover. I think it's a board of
You should
7.
Talk to Mayor Welter and get brought up to speed on that
Yes.
since it's in your district.
Yes, remember it? I did that for you. We're saying the same thing. So yes, so did that, which was a great opportunity. And then just recently had the LTAC meeting and one of the things I thought was a little interesting, Nikki Brown brought up an idea to every year there is leftover grant money. So either they didn't submit the full request for reimbursement or ended up not having the event, whatever the case may be. Every year there's grant funds that are left over, and she had an idea, and then she's going to really formulate the idea to bring back to the board to vote on it. And that's a third. So currently we have like 2 categories of grants. It creates an additional grant opportunity, smaller grants for different projects that would increase tourism, like potentially, I don't know, a sign to go in somewhere, welcome Grace.
Oh, back to our sign, let's do that. Go.
Couldn't they, if they aren't used, couldn't they just go to someone on the list that's provided?
Well, they don't have that currently in the bylaws to do that. So, and there is, because I asked that same question,
She was going to look into what the requirements are because it is a restricted fund. So she was just gonna look and see.
Well, each
what-
grant will probably have its own dilly-dally requirements.
So the funds don't hold over, they're left, they're lost,
No, they're lost.
they're lost.
If they're
Happens all the
grant
time.
funds, if they're, unless they are LTAC grant funds.
They're LPAC grant funds, there
Then-
are monies.
Then
They're
it would
still
roll back
there.
in.
They
Yes.
roll into the next year.
Yeah,
Yes, so she's instead, so like in 2027, there would be funds from 2025 that weren't spent. So it's always a year behind.
Yeah,
She'll come forward with a formal presentation, but I did think that that was interesting to allow one more grant opportunity because we get so many grant opportunity or grant requests. And all of those opportunities are a way to increase tourism. So we definitely want to spend the money to increase
Sure.
tourism, so that's great.
you know,
And-
the state's Department of Historical Preservation, they get a list and they rank that list, and then they fund down to a certain point.
We do too.
And then they keep that other list in case some don't get funded, but there's money left over that you would go to that next one that's in
Ah.
line. And I don't know why you couldn't do that
We
already.
could, we just don't have it in
I don't know that has to be in your bylaws because you're still spending the same, you're still spending that same amount for the same projects, but
but we wouldn't know until the following year what wasn't spent, but yes.
but
Then
that way
you
you
have
wouldn't
more
have
money
to,
to add.
yeah, you wouldn't have to re-advertise for it, you just go to the next one on the
Plug
list, is
into
what
it.
you're suggesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the
and just get the money out there faster is what I'm thinking too, especially if it's $20,000, maybe your next two things
I
were
think
an
it's
8,
almost 50 left over.
maybe there was an 8 and a 10 and you know, whatever to come down and you can just fund them, but they only are gonna have a very short window of time to spend it.
Mhm.
I can't remember, what is it, around 500,000, 700,000?
It's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot.
And yeah, it's a lot, it's a
That's
lot of
just
money.
The checks going.
And I would like to just shout out to John Shaw and Scott Anderson from Ocean Shores in Westport. They are really doing a great job working with the county to have a cohesive advertising plan that spans the whole entire county. And I think that that just maximizes our impact and synergy. And so just really happy that those partnerships were started under Mike Bruner. He did a great job and forged the way. And now Nikki has picked up the ball and is doing a good job running it.
So cities have separate LTAC funds and then they're.
Ocean Shores and Westport do.
Okay, and then so they're combining them with the county funds?
No,
Well,
No,
not combining the funds, excuse me?
it's kind of like, I guess you would call it a pay to play. So we get advertising, and if they want to be involved in that same advertising, then they buy their own package. But because we're all buying,
Right. Okay,
it's a reduced price. I mean, Evening Magazine and
Seattle Refined.
Gather Fine, big deals for Grace Harbor. So I'm just excited about that work. It's awesome. Okay,
we're
well.
still working on tying in with the, what, World Cup stuff happening?
Oh, yes, as a matter of fact, that we have a thing on our agenda.
For the
to-
fair.
Yeah, for the fair for that. So moving on to our agenda. Next, we have to discuss option for payroll process with directions to staff and subsequent February 10th action meeting. So that
Mr.
discussion for payroll, there's
Mr. O'Connor.
Thomas. Good afternoon, Thomas, how are you?
I'm very good,
I
thank you.
guess it's not quite afternoon yet. Close.
I provided each of you with some documentation last week, walked you through some of the process diagrams. I don't have a presentation for today, unless you want me to go through that slide deck that I provided last week. The intent here was really, we had set a February 10th meeting date for making a decision. Do we buy something? Do we continue to develop in-house? This is the opportunity to have a discussion before that decision meeting.
Okay.
Ask questions, I'll do my best to answer.
I think it would be beneficial for the public and the staff that are on the line that not necessarily go through the slide deck that you have, but give a brief summary of the analysis that you that you did and what your recommendation is?
I knew that. So over the last 2 months, I have been working with staff and doing some pretty detailed process mapping of current state timekeeping and payroll process. And the focus there was to identify what current process is and defects and issues in that process. In that process, identified 42 issues of varying degrees of impact that largely lead to the plethora of using spreadsheets in the process of processing timekeeping and payroll. And largely those are checks and balances to make sure everything balances before it gets to payroll, and then in payroll to make sure that all of the payroll processes function completely with no errors. So we identified 47 of those errors. Provided those to Ron with a request for how much effort is involved in this. And some of those are minor issues. Others of them are larger. I asked for a assessment in terms of shirt size, so extra small up to extra large. And there are several extra large items, and the extra large was classified as it take more than 2 months to resolve those items.
You had a couple extra larges too.
There were some, the extra larges were more than 2 months. And the point of that is when we look at timing for resolution, for some of those items, you have those extra large items and the extra large items, and we're more than a year out in terms of resolving those. And in that process, we have to consider that our key developer is planning on retiring by the end of the year. And so we're starting to burn up that runway.
Correct me if I'm wrong, we're starting to burn up the runway even if we bought a program.
Yes.
It's just the dependency on that key developer would be less depending on which choice we make.
So then in parallel with that, I've been looking at other options for payroll, commercial payroll systems. And they run, and because we haven't gone for any type of a formal RFQ or RFP process at this point, it's informal discussions. Give me a ballpark figure for 450 employees, what's this going to cost? And for payroll processes, annual costs run from about 120,000 a year to about 170,000 a year. Installation costs were at the low end about $20,000 to a high end about $70,000. So the low end first year implementation cost would be about $200,000. It's a high end about $350,000 for just a payroll system.
Wait, I didn't understand. How did we get to 350 from
So
20 to
Range.
70?
170,000 plus
Installation plus,
installation costs.
Well, I thought you said installation costs from 20 to 70.
Yeah, so you go 70 plus so I'd say 3. I'm sorry.
I'm
off.
I didn't know. I'm sorry. I
My
missed
math is bad here, about 280,000.
Okay,
Good catch.
I get that at 240.
Now, looking back again at the work we did last fall for a full ERP system, if you just implement the minimum aspects of the ERP necessary to get to payroll, which would enable future add-on modules for finance, accounts payable, accounts receivable, and such. Procurement. Those are still in the $300,000 to $400,000 install, about $120,000 to $150,000
Or just the
annual fee.
Yeah, but just for payroll, because every time you add something else.
Or
Just for there. What that does do is to facilitate the ability to add those modules over time to get to a full ERP.
But each module, is it
at a cost of probably about the same, $125,000 for each module.
So
And then maintenance fees.
the maintenance fees, so back in November, when we were looking at this, total maintenance fees, depending on which solution we went with, was about $170 to $250,000 annually
For the entire
for the
package.
entire package. Now, I didn't ask for breakdown of what we did this year or that year or the next
Right.
year. I broke it down as a binary, so if we start here, what's it gonna cost? We go to the full package.
But
What's it gonna cost?
I also, in looking at the numbers, it looked like when you take the first step, it's a larger, as you add on, once you have the first component like payroll, say you add a component after that, it's not doubling everything, it's just a component added to it. So you're paying the majority upfront.
Yes.
That's correct. For the platform implementation and setting up.
So
that
it
base.
isn't 125 per each additional line.
No, it'll be less.
It would be total cost.
Yeah.
So instead of it, what did we say, 180 to 125 to 200 or something, it would be maybe 150 to 225, something like
Well,
that.
I think that when we talked about, because this has been a while, but when we talked about the full ERP system and what the different modules were cost annually, it was it like 350 annually?
No, actually, annually, was relative, in fact, the 10-year cost of a full ERP system was the equivalent or less than the 10-year cost of a payroll.
Just pay.
Just for payroll.
Now, that's 10-year cost. Full ERP implementation, in terms of first year install costs, we're looking, depending on which platform we went with, about $800,000 to $1.2 million in the first year. So the full ERP implementation would be relatively expensive that first year. You cut it down to just the minimum aspects for install costs. It was about $300,000 for NetSuite, about $400,000 for Workday. So just to implement the necessary components to deliver payroll. Now, the reason those are so expensive is in both cases, you got to implement finance in order to do payroll. With a payroll system alone, they don't care about finance. They do payroll and pass the output of that off to the finance system.
And based upon what we've seen with the financial audits, performance audits, as well as our budgeting process, ultimately, we will need to get to some sort of an automated system for finance. So that will be an eventuality we need to get to, whether it's now or 10 years from now.
So. Do we want to wait till Commissioner Raines? back?
Oh, absolutely.
What should we think?
Yes, you can take a short recess with
Thank
5
you.
minutes.
They lead on.
Okay, we just gotten back from a 5 minute, but actually took 7 minute recess, so thanks for hanging with us. We're gonna continue the discussion with Thomas regarding payroll. And I know that Commissioner Hall has a presentation, and so what I thought, if you're at a place of pause, what I thought we would do is let him do his presentation, but have you hang out at the table because I think it's the same conversation.
If I could.
Sure.
While we're on break, I pulled up the actual numbers that I have so I can speak a little more clearly and less hand waving.
Okay.
Just not going down. That's a good reminder.
So for
Way over
example,
here under the-
in terms of looking at other systems, one of the things I did is I poked around websites for reviews of payroll systems. One of those systems that got very high reviews was Paylocity. Their rough estimate for install fee was about $17,000. And then $105,000 per year for licensing fees. And then I looked at NeoGov, ADP, and Paycom. Paycom was the most expensive of those. That was the $170,000 a year, the $50,000 install fee. I said earlier with $50,000 install fee. ADP was $22,000 installed, about $150,000 a year thereafter. One note about ADP is we haven't verified, that's right, we haven't looked at the gory details, is they have, or they claim to have equivalent capacity or capability as our current CMS system that we use for collecting project data for roads. So there are there's a range of options there. If you make a purchase decision and the purchase decision is limited to payroll, what I would recommend is going out for an RFP to get specific
Scope.
thank you, scope on exactly what they deliver and what the cost is.
So,
We can turn that around pretty quickly.
and these numbers that you're giving us would be for, when you say payroll, you're also talking timekeeping.
Right, so when I specified when I asked, it was specifically HR with an HR portal. Timekeeping and payroll.
Great.
So
Just wanna
those three aspects.
Just want to confirm that it's not just
Payroll.
one piece.
Yeah, it's those three pieces, and HR and payroll kind of go together, and then you gotta have some kind of a timekeeping tool. And either
Which-
you have separately for timekeeping, or you do it as part of the application.
Are Paylocity, Paycom, and ADP, are any of them on the state contract?
So Paycom is not, ADP certainly is, NeoGov is. I have not verified the velocity.
So we definitely, because of some on and some not, definitely go out for an RFP.
My thinking is the RFP would be easier in terms of letting us put out a set of specific requirements. You must be able to do these things, which will demonstrate this. And then we could invite demos as part of the RFP process. And I'm not the procurement expert here, so I'm going on somewhat incomplete knowledge here in terms of procurement. But the idea there is we put out for RFP, we can look at all of these, even if they're not a state contract. If they are a state contract, we can look at RFP versus state. But ultimately, I have an approach that in large part because we need to make the decision of do we buy or do we build.
Well, and it would also button it up too, because what you provided us here are your basic conversation numbers that you've had
Yeah.
over this period of time. So that it would
Instead
give
of a
us a
real-
more concrete.
True number.
And then I did want to mention just in terms of the build process. I want to raise a concern that we have right now one developer that really knows the system. So we have a single point of failure. And when I look at the complexity, right now we have two databases that operate these two systems, timekeeping and payroll. A combined total of more than 3,300 fields in those, not all of which are currently being used, but they're out there. We don't have a data dictionary on it. So does it work? Yes. My concern is anytime you get something with high complexity and you start introducing a lot of change, you're introducing a lot of risk. So I'm not saying we shouldn't build, I'm just saying we need to be aware of the potential risk from that standpoint.
For completeness, did you also give out the numbers on NeoGov?
So for NeoGov, for the minimum necessary for install for Workday was $395,000 on annual cost of $106,000. For our NetSuite, initial install cost $318,000 with annual cost of $121,000.
And what was NeoGov?
So NeoGov was annual $144,000 averaged over 10 years.
And the install cost?
All the install cost for NeoGov is $38,000.
Thomas, you have a list of all that, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
just trying to keep notes.
It's in our
Get that in the
presentation.
Presentation?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
It was briefly in the presentation, I've broken out in more detail, like with the
I think that was in the previous presentation, and then the new presentation didn't have those numbers in it, but
it had them at the very high level.
very high level.
I didn't break it down into detail,
Right.
I'll send you the spreadsheet.
No, I think it's very informative to have those numbers. I'm gonna make a presentation to support building in-house. But you're raising right now some questions and some nuances that really at this time I haven't prepared an answer for. But I've got some meetings scheduled later in the week with some developers and stuff like that. So I can try to bring those numbers down to you too and talk about some of those specifics. That I'm not gonna do that in this presentation.
Before we get to your presentation, Commissioner Ryan, I think you had a question.
It is a simple question. When you're looking at build or buy, B and B. Has HR and payroll benefits, have they weighed in on this? Do they have a recommendation for us? Because they would be the one, I don't do payroll. I don't work with any of this. I don't work with doing the left system and the way the sheriff's office runs on their calendar or roads when they have a summer schedule versus a winter schedule, or the detention facility. So I'd like to know if they've been involved in these conversations and if they have a recommendation.
So let me walk through how we did the payroll mapping process. I went out to 5 different departments, so I didn't cover everyone because a lot of people use a pretty simple timekeeping. It's a time card. Almost everyone is salaried. They print out their sheets every week. They sign them. It's a pretty simple process. So I went to the groups that have the most complex. So for example, roads, the health department, sheriff is actually in the best position right now. So I the health department, Judy,
And facilities.
facilities, thank you. And I set up a meeting while they worked through the process, and I recorded it. And then I spent, for every hour, I probably spent 3 or 4 hours going back through and making sure I caught everything and caught screenshots of places where they ran into issues, tried to capture screenshots of all of their spreadsheets. And this was done largely one-on-one or 1 or 2, myself and 1 or 2 people from the department. And I captured various issues. I didn't write down some of their comments, but I'll share some of their comments. I'm not gonna share who did it or who said it, but some of their comments was, I think the system is irrecoverable. The system has errors. When we raise issue with the errors, we get poo-pooed.
Is that the technical? I mean, just ask him, friend.
But single O or double.
It was like a technical issue.
Technical term,
Technical term.
food.
I'm not sure that's exactly what the terminology they used, but.
I can imagine
Essentially.
I can imagine what it was, yeah.
And a lot of it was the system doesn't do what we want it to do. Now, I will also say is when I brought issues to Ron or to Jed, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is the frequent response there was, well, nobody told us. And that may be true, and there may be various reasons. for
Nobody
that.
told us that there was an issue.
Somebody told us.
Or the requirement, or there's something missing.
So for example, the health department doesn't use the time clock. Or the time sheet,
Time card, yeah.
time card application. They use a spreadsheet. Why do they use a spreadsheet? Because as far as they understood, the time card application could not handle all of the various job codes
Grant
that are
function.
tied to grants, as you say. And they also use it for various forms of alternate compensation, off-time compensation that currently isn't in the time card application. So when they went through the process with me and they pointed this out, so we do this because this doesn't do it. We do it because we couldn't make this do the thing that we need to do, and so we use spreadsheets. The other thing that was consistent across everyone I talked to was a lack of trust in the system, which is why do they use spreadsheets? In large part, it's not because the applications don't do what they don't fill a function. They don't trust that they fill the function correctly. And so they have these spreadsheets to correct to identify errors. And then go back and manually enter data in the time and hours application. Because the spreadsheets give them the confidence that what they're putting in the time and hours is actually correct. And time and hours is what feeds into payroll, which is what officially feeds into how we look at day.
How does it fit into Commissioner Reed's question, build versus buy? What was their sentiment?
Oh, their sentiment is absolutely buy.
Well, and I think that one of the important functions for the whatever program, whether it's in-house or out of house, is that grant function, because we need to be making sure that we're getting proper allocations for those grants. So when we're looking at the budget and the overall big picture of where the dollars are going, and I want a new position and this position is grant funded, but then they're not actually keeping track of that, or at least this percentage is grant funded. And we don't have a system in place to track that across the board.
We have a system, it's called spreadsheets.
Well, manual.
I would like to point out though, in that case, it was because they didn't ask us how the time card functioned. Because we actually can track that in the time card.
Okay.
So they're doing it in a spreadsheet because they didn't know that it could be done in the time card.
I gotcha.
So facilities can do a time card that will break down if you got someone doing this with this building, or you got facilities, utilities, solid waste, and they kind of.
It's just like the prosecutor's office allocating to or
Civil
spent on ARPA
or
and
case.
things like that.
So I
So
would
I'm not-
assume our IT then gives training for that department on how to use that system then.
We definitely can.
Well, it'd have to
Yes.
probably be built for theirs.
Well, we would need to put the job codes that they need
Right,
into it.
right.
And I'm sure Commissioner Holt's gonna speak to some of that.
Well, then, but question,
That's fine.
but question still on this. So how long does that take? So if they put in a help ticket today that said, wow, I didn't know you could do that. Now I know, and now I want it. How long would it take for that to be developed?
The different job codes and stuff in there, it's not developed, it's just someone going in and doing the data entry on the back end, so it shows up on their time card.
I gotcha, so.
Yeah.
But they don't use time.
So it's,
They don't use time cards, so then there would need to be
It's
training on them now how to utilize that.
I don't want to speak out of turn for Ron, but I believe it's as easy as he takes the list that they give him and uploads it into a table. And then he sets it up so when they do a drop down, they only see the codes that they need to see. And if it takes any more than a day to do all that, I'd be surprised.
So depending on what he's working on, but as far as his time to do it, it's not time intensive to do that. Now, if we were to continue to develop down that road, we would want to give those departments the ability to enter those themselves, right? Like, oh, we've got to change, we could go and put that in the back end and ourselves, but.
And that, in my environment, is just flipping a little switch that makes it update from a list or update from an
Entry.
entry where you can modify the list. But I don't know how it works out.
Let's go ahead and let you do your presentation, because I do think that to some degree, there's gonna be some back and forth questions based on what you're gonna present to us.
Absolutely.
So just
That sounds fine.
pause.
I want to thank Iris for her help in putting this together and conceptualize it with me. There's a lot to discuss, and I wasn't sure whether we were prepared to go into all the nuance and details. Like I said already, I've got some meetings later in the week, and by next week, I'll do a better job of breaking it all out so you can see what I think the costs are going to be from doing it yourself. But I'm talking about growing together and building a system together. So I'm speaking in favor of the Delphi system. Next slide. So my sequel is the single most important database engine the world's ever known. That was a quote from Jason Hong, the CEO of NVIDIA, at the most recent 2026 Davos meeting. We're built on a SQL system. Delphi is a powerful choice for developers due to its rapid application development environment, which uses a drag and drop visual interface and a massive library of reusable components to drastically reduce development time. Its cross-platform capabilities allow you to write a single code base and deploy it natively to Windows, Mac OS, iOS, Android, and Linux, making it a highly efficient tool for modern multi-device software projects, which means when you want to go into a like website, it's already built the links to do that. So
Or desktop and mobility.
building on the momentum of its recent return to this index, and what this index does is it looks worldwide and see who's developing on what databases, and Delphi has now moved back up to number 9 in the top 10. It has 2 to 3 million developers, and they benefit from significant ongoing investments in productivity-focused tools like Web Stencils, which are specifically engineered to streamline the transition of legacy systems into modern, high-performance, web-based architecture. That's what we own. Next slide, please. What's wrong with our current system? We don't know how it works. We don't trust it. We didn't know Timecard could take infinite pay codes, so we make Excel workarounds. We haven't set clear expectation and accountabilities. What if each desk worker or person with daily access to computer input their own time? It would be right? We don't have documented processes. And I want to laud the work that Thomas has done, because when we interviewed for that position, I talked about we don't have documented processes. That's the first place. We need to have them documented. Even if we're going to go to a completely biased system, we need to have our processes documented so we know what to put on the RFP. And so that's work that we need to have done. And when we talked about this perfect payroll, one of the things that we talked about is at least we're going to start learning how to document processes, and we're going to get some flow charts. And thank you, Thomas, for leading in that. I personally believe we need a resource that would document our processes and continue to develop our procedures and processes that we really, really need. And I don't think we share a common vision of the future. My vision is we data input right the first time. We never, ever, ever rekey data. We put it in once. And we don't pass around pieces of paper for signatures. The time card itself, you guys know that when you're done with it, there's a little lock feature. You click on that lock feature, and then it keeps track of what time you got done, who it is that locked it, and you could build on that so that your supervisor would then have the next lock and look at it. And so we don't have to do this circulating paper all around. We can do it in our system. Next slide, please. What makes me think we can pull this off? We're having non-action meetings where we can openly discuss issues important to our county. When has that ever happened? We're putting the finishing touches on a strategic plan, developing a comprehensive land use plan, which was last done 20 years ago, and processing with a comp and classification study. We're making amazing progress with OnBase after bringing development in the house. I mean, we are doing things as a commission that haven't been done. We're doing new things as a county, as a community. We built a target-based, intentionally focused budget for 2026. We have a position control list so we can accurately plan for the future. This is some new stuff. We are clear-eyed about the challenges ahead, but putting process and about putting processes and people in place to meet those challenges. So we have a clear focus. why is Delphi so important to me is because having a team that can develop new process makes us future proof. It helps us broaden our imagination and grow in ways we can only imagine. An off-the-shelf system is already obsolete when you buy it. It's been developed for past processes. So in my vision, we have a strong team in tech. We don't have a single point of failure. We bring somebody in immediately to work with Ron to develop in our future. The other reason it's important to me, Commissioner Miller, you brought it up. It's like, where is our grant funding and money going? How does it flow through us?
I was wondering why it says Minnesota, and now I know. Where was the money going?
I'm nervous.
Gotcha.
And we're seeing some audit weaknesses. And so, but I believe we can develop the tools, and I'll show you some tools that I'm developing that in our current system. And I'm going to talk about the position, the commissioner's payroll report, turnaround report, because you always heard me talking about that. So what, 3 weeks on the job, we get to sign a $1 million payroll. I'm like, what? This last one that we signed, payroll period, what was that, 23, was for $1,082,000, 427 pages. Just scroll to the bottom of the list.
In the compressed book. Compressed.
So what I developed because of that, in March, I asked Ron for a download, and I started bringing that into Excel and doing some pivot tables and stuff like that so I could see all the totals and tie up. And I continue to work with that, and so I get a download every 2 pay periods. And then as I reflected on the problems that I'm seeing with spreadsheets and stuff, I'm thinking, well, what if we were developing, instead of spreadsheets, we were developing an Access? Because it's just so much more robust and so much, you can just tie it out so much better. And so I developed a payroll process report, if you will, in Access. And so when I get this now, I get it, by the way, if our process is working correctly, I get it 12 hours before the treasurer has to make the payroll. And so I get a chance to review it. And the last time I went through it and I reviewed it, and I found like 9 things that I was questioning. But how many times when you look at the 427?
I wouldn't know what to question or not to question.
Absolutely would
How
not.
could you?
And I think we can see it better on the next, but those are all the funds, and it ties out all the, on the next slide, I think you're going to see more clearly from the top. So what I do, I can put in the current year or the previous year or the base year, and I can select any of the pay periods. So what I've selected in this case was pay period 2 for 2/6 and 1. And then we've kind of established the pay period 23 as kind of a baseline. When we said, hiring freeze and target based budget and stuff, that's kind of where we were with the organization. And so down below, I see the regular pay and the net pay for those 3 periods. And once I can look pay period to pay period, I then start to have some awareness of change. And then I don't feel that my time is wasted going through this thing. I'm not just checking the box. I'm actually engaging with the information. So I can see how the count is changing. And what I'm trying to show and display here on this particular form, Ron builds forms like this in his sleep. I had to struggle, and so this isn't very pretty, but there's buttons up there that'll run different detail reports. You can see the fund number up there. You can see that I've got health up there, public health, and you can see that Mike McNichols is listed in the email as responsible for that fund. I've got an action note down below. I said the action type was pay dramatically different, and I'll show you where I showed that from. And then I made a note, Mike, I noticed a change in pay rate. And so what the system will do is will automatically email that note to Mike. And so I don't have to be in two different systems. I don't have to be doing snips or whatever like that. I can just interact directly with the data. And the thing about that form, and that's why when I talk about what data is on time card and people push back, well, that's not on time card. What I'm saying, time card is like a painting, right? You can put whatever you want on there, and you can look at, this is looking at 3 different tables right there.
I have
And
a
it's
question.
keeping track. And when I send that email, it's gonna put it in a log for me. And so then I will see week after week all the data type defects or issues that I think I'm seeing, and then I will build a query to look for those issues so that I don't have to visually go through this data to look for myself.
My question, I see where you have public health and Mike McNichol's up there, but then you have assessor and auditor.
Well, you gotta go back. I gave you a close-up on,
Yeah.
all the funds are down like that,
Yeah.
and I gave you a close-up, so I know.
So
you
what's
can
the one
you
that you're
can
looking at in
see-
the?
Right, so you can see the whole thing. So if you see that black dot right down there?
I don't.
Okay, hold on. You see right here, I've got the focus on public health.
Yes.
That black.
So when I click that dot, it changes all this email data and stuff. And then at the same time, I have up the next slide, 2 slides down, Rose.
So
I'll just show you this. So as I'm clicking through all these funds, I hid the names, but I see all the detail, regular pay, overtime, other pay, net pay in those 3 periods, and can make comparisons and the things I can put up here. I can put a minimum variable, I can put a percent, so things that aren't meeting the proper criteria jump out in red.
my question would be, and I know that you're a very data oriented person. But my question would be, has the payroll staff asked for this access to be able to utilize it? I mean,
No.
when you're saying that it's gonna,
I sign $1 million payroll. I need access to this as a commissioner.
right, but we're talking, but is this what you've created here? Is it providing simplicity and accuracy to their job?
I think it will, because I don't know if it's on the next slide or where, I got lost there. But anyway, I wanted you to understand that slide.
I think that there is a disconnect. I get understanding and signing the bills and making sure that everything is accurate. But we also have a responsibility to accurately and timely process payroll and HR and benefit functions as well. I'm just asking if there has been input by staff of what they need. I don't know if they need to email someone a task on that. I get that that you're gonna ask about the change in the pay rate. I get that. But
I picked that up from watching people doing payroll and how they had to interact with the data when it was incomplete, like on the time card. They would have to find the issue. They would have to email or call somebody. And so that's just my way of simplifying my process so that I can email quickly and then keep track of the issues that I'm seeing.
Okay.
So now,
I think that's
and
great.
what I'm trying to say is the tools that I'm looking at and seeing could be applied to the time card app. That and and Paymaster that we're building, that we have in-house. And we can very quickly, I'm not gonna say quickly, because it's gonna take time and money, but we can streamline our process with our current system and deliver what they need also. But I'm doing this as I'm making my own tools to be comfortable about where we are in the process. So you guys can probably imagine that my next step is to take this screen and tie it back to the budget, not just comparing it pay period to pay period, but comparing it to our actual budget. So I'm doing this in an environment and what I wanted to say, this is all this data comes from a download from Ron. And it takes me less than 2 minutes to cut and paste it from an Excel spreadsheet into this table. Now that should be all automatic. And I think we could make it automatic so that Ron just makes the table. But what it does is I'm doing this analysis and not having to keep punching any numbers.
What would be the advantage of building in-house versus buying a ready-to-go system, which when they say ready to go, it's not really ready to go, but more ready to go. What would be the advantage? Because you just talked about it's gonna take time and money. Well, everything takes time and money. So what's the advantage?
The advantage is you own the system that you develop, and instead of paying your annual rental fees, you have that resource in-house or two that can continue to build for your future.
So the difference is instead of paying those outside resources, as you are talking about adding staff. Because we have Ron that's gonna retire at the end of this year.
Yeah, I'm talking about immediately adding staff to replace Ron, because so that you have that transition, and then you have two people working on the system till Ron retires.
Since Jed is here, and why don't you come up to the table so we can hear you and public can hear.
But here's my revised, but go ahead and ask your questions and I'll.
Well, I'm just looking over and you have something to add to
Well,
it, so.
I have a couple of notes. Just pointing out here, first of all, any system that we buy will also be built on SQL. SQL is the standard, so that is, I just wanna be clear that our data is mobile. I mean, it can be taken in and out of SQL databases and into other SQL databases, so that's one.
They interface fairly well.
Right, just kind of piggybacking on that, this is not a technology question.
Correct, that's what I was
We have
trying to point out.
technology
Yes.
neutral.
So what's wrong with Delphi is that there hasn't been development on Delphi since the decision was made to go to Munis. That's why we're in the situation we're in. The development environment was taken down. Yeah, and so just from my perspective, it seems we're trying to solve two problems. One is remove the pain points we have in our current system, and the other is plan for the future. And so, from my perspective, we can remove the pain points from our system with one of three options. We can either buy a payroll system, which would immediately, within the next year, as Ron is still here, we could remove those pain points by buying a system. There's a cost to that is going to be more than if we just continue to pay Ron or his replacement. Which I do want to point out, we do have 3 Delphi developers already in-house. So one of the other developers could step into Ron's role and
Why do we need to hire staff? I mean, I know we need to hire,
well,
we'll have to replace, but you might be bottom replacing, really not.
right, we may not need to. It depends. I could see a scenario in which we would replace a developer right away. Because we actually have 4 developers.
You can't count many.
Well, Fernando is working on base, but at some point, on base will slow down in development and he would be able to work on other things.
I believe that that's a true statement.
Yes. So,
Even if there's no facts back.
so so buying a payroll system would achieve that quickly, right? But there's a larger cost to doing that. buying an ERP, the payroll portion of the ERP system would also do that. It's a much larger cost to that and maybe a longer implementation just because of the complexity. So it wouldn't get us there as quickly, but that would set us up for future migration of our legacy system to that, although we would then be locked into that vendor. So there's some caveats to that as well. The third option is to develop in-house those, take care of those pain points over the next year. And that we could do that as well. We've got a roadmap for that too.
It sounds like you have to do
To
that
fix those.
regardless of what plan you go with.
Well, we would begin working on it one way or the other because some of those things would be good to have in place before we start that migration. So all three of those options will take care of that first one, removing the real pain points. Now, having a payroll system that has all full features, that's a different question. Buying one off the shelf will get us there quickly, again with the higher cost. ERP, same thing with a much higher cost. With the in-house development, that pushes that having the full features of a full feature payroll system out probably another year beyond this and possibly two, just because the time for in-house development of those things. There are, of course, I think, there's always innovations happening within the Delphi environment and Delphi, programming world where some of those things might be sped up, but that's what the plan, what I presented to Thomas was a 2-year roadmap to get all those features in our payroll system. So really the question that I think you need to answer is, what is the timeline we want to have these things on? And, do we want to have everything up front now, or are we willing to wait and take a longer approach to it? And there are benefits and risks to both of those, right? I mean, I think they're real. They're not. I wouldn't take any of them lightly, but I think that it's that's the question that you really have before you is to make the decision based on those criteria.
I'm glad that you mentioned the word risk because it can't just be cost. It also has to be risk, right? And time. And so when you look at all of those components, then what solution do you come up with? Because having accuracy is very important. And my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm really not an IT person in any way, shape, or form, but the system on which we are currently working is a column out system that has unending amounts of columns added to it, and that becomes problematic. So the foundation of the system itself is problematic. Am I not? Is
Cumbersome.
Today, the way it's been architected and organically grown.
Yeah, I would say that is one of the issues that would need to be addressed over that 2-year period. If we decided to develop in-house, is there would need to be some re-architecting of some areas of that system, just simply because of the way it was built. Delphi itself is very robust and can handle a lot, but the way that it was built sort of piecemeal over time. And there are some places where we could go back and really get some efficiency gains in re-architecting the database itself.
But when you re-architect things like that, does that not expose you for additional risk? Like, oh, whoops, it's payroll day and
Absolutely.
Nobody's getting paid.
Yeah. Well, obviously, if we were to go down that road,
What about that?
Hold on, it's an important answer.
if we were to go down that road, we would reconstitute a development program. We have already brought up a development environment back up because we anticipating that this may be a direction we're going, in which case then we would go back. My preference would be to go to what's called a waterfall methodology to start, where we have very well tested and developed and well tested before ever implemented, and we would do our updates to the system on a very strict schedule, where instead of the agile model where we would just push them out as we do them. That's kind of what we've done as things, in the little bit of development that we have done on the system since the Munis decision was made. It has been more of like fix one thing, push it out, see if it breaks. That's not how we want to do development, right? That is definitely not, I mean, it's not been quite to that level of risk, but you know, that's not where we want to be. So if we do this, we would go back to a more traditional model, at least for a while, until we were sure the system was stable. You know, that would be my preference.
Can I speak to the risk, just real briefly? And this is, I'll be careful, because this is not intended as a criticism of anything that's been done in the past. It's just an observation. Couple of months ago, so the diagramming tool that I've been using has an AI app that you can feed it a database schema. It'll probably known as an energy relationship diagram. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. So I reached out to Ron and said, hey, Ron, can you run this query so I can get a schema of the two databases and feed this into the AI tool? And the AI tool choked. Oh, okay. So then I started looking at the schema that I was feeding it into it, and that's when I realized that there are no foreign keys. And there's a you're doing database design. There's a standard that's called normalization. Normally, you want to get a relational database to what's known as fourth normal form. The database is not even in first normal form, which is what leads to the 3,300 plus data fields. So if the solution is, if the decision is to build a house, then there's a second question I think that needs to be addressed is, do you build on the existing architecture, or do you make the decision to invest and re-architect it? And one of the reasons you want to re-architect it isn't just the current complexity, because it is complex. The other reason is, if you have a fully normalized database, you open it to other very powerful analysis tools like Tableau, for example, that does everything that you were trying to do in Microsoft Access with essentially a drag and drop interface. So if you want to get to that point, you need to consider, if we're going to build a house, are we going to build and just fix? Or are we going to build for the future? If you're going to build for the future, you need to consider that that is a bigger effort. It's going to take more time. It'll pay off in a 10-year span. It will definitely pay off. But you have to consider that from a standpoint of, there's more than one decision. If it's buy, what do you buy? If it's build, how do you build? Because you want to address that risk.
Right.
I think if we make the decision to build, it doesn't make any sense to build on top of a shaky foundation. You build with a solid foundation that, right? I mean, that has less risk for the future.
Right, I think we would componentize a lot of this, and so that we would end up building each component new while hoping to integrate with the existing while we're doing it. So that we would, over time, the whole system would be built on a new architect, but it wouldn't happen all at once. It wouldn't be a fork and lift up everything all at once.
I want to note, Ron has a comment in the box that says foreign keys are unneeded overhead. We don't need them, so I don't use them where they are not needed. And then Michelle Taylor says, didn't we already establish that choosing either of the other two ERPs would still require us to buy a separate payroll solution?
To that comment, the staff's choice was NeoGov for payroll, NetSuite for everything else. And the preference there was the NetSuite payroll application isn't deemed as fully featured as the NetSuite application. So that was their first choice. The second choice was just the NetSuite and use the NetSuite timekeeping application. So in terms of that, did we
That's
Look at
the
that,
ERP,
yes.
it's not necessarily the Paycom, the ADP, or any of that. Yeah.
And that was when we looked at the budget deficit. It was like, yeah, we're not gonna spend $1 million on this year. But what do we do in the meantime? And that came down to focus on payroll.
Did I asked the question earlier about those that do the payroll, in particular that process our payroll, make sure that we get paid. But was there input or guidance from other users, like we have the accounting team that's been created? do they have a preference on which direction we go? What's that noise?
Well, this is really.
Commissioner Rains, going back to my slide, it's hard to have people sitting down in front of a system that they don't believe, they don't trust, and they don't understand, and try to have them,
Yeah.
really describe what it needs to look like. And so what I'm suggesting is that we can rebuild it in such a way that they can trust it, and it will eliminate the work. And then I think they would have a different answer to your question. I mean,
No,
it's a valid question.
yeah, and I get that. I appreciate the work that you're doing. A moment ago, Thomas talked about the first something form.
First normal form,
What?
first normal form, this is.
Or we need the fourth normal form? Is that what it is? I have no idea what that
We
is.
don't have first, but then Ron.
I have no
responded to
idea
that.
what the first, second, third, or fourth
We're getting
is.
kind
Yeah,
of.
just to make sure
But-
the data is a single source of truth.
But I did understand that if the architecture is, the functionality of the architecture would need to be rebuilt. Do we build on, or do we start fresh and create what we need? But I also heard Jed say that that could take 1 to 2 years. And we've been working on this since 2018, and it's been extremely frustrating for me. I won't be here. So
But there's inaccuracies in payroll
the-
now.
oh,
to have
absolutely,
2
they're
years
rounding
of
errors.
inaccuracies of
I do
payroll.
wanna be clear, we plan on addressing the issues.
Pain points.
The pain points, inaccuracies, things like that. Now, right, and we will do that.
And so, I'm
Before
sorry,
we-
but are you saying that you haven't addressed them because nobody has brought them to your attention?
Correct.
Okay.
Until he started documenting these processes and showed what,
Does-
like 42
Do we
issues.
have a formal process for if, like,
Well,
because we talk, I mean, there is a lot of lack of process and procedures and stuff like
Submitting
that.
requests, submitting projects.
Right, I mean,
usually
Yeah, but no.
it's a trouble ticket that, it's like, it's not working. Again, there was a decision made when we went to Munis that all development on the current applications were gonna stop, so people stopped putting in any feature requests, except for sheriff's department. They've asked for features that have been implemented at times, but otherwise.
I would say that it is possible, because if you're not an IT person, then you don't necessarily know what the possibilities are or what to ask.
Well,
So,
And that's.
there's
I'm
that
trying to-
one key, but we're also not payroll people.
right,
But I'm
Right.
also trying to open the organization to what the possibilities are, what the tools can do, how good they are. And I'm advocating for a strong development team up there as we grow into our.
And that strong development team would require an architect, because it needs to be designed correctly to begin with.
I know, but I'm also talking to independent developers who talk about having the tools and the experience
Is it,
to do that sort of work.
so I appreciate Ron's comment. I appreciate Michelle's comment and Jed being here. I'm gonna go out on a limb. Is Julie Pope on the call?
I would think so.
I don't think,
If she knew we were having this
Okay.
conversation. Well, she's not.
so
is noon.
can we?
No.
Can I just finish up real quick? I'm debating whether to tell you my story. The story or not.
Let's have your story. I definitely want to hear it.
She's
jumping
on right now.
Yes, okay, good.
Can
We have
you,
popcorn.
can you have popcorn? Rose, can you get up that last slide? I don't think I got
Oh, I
to.
thought she was he was gonna ask her to call for popcorn.
Okay, so,
I want you to know, Thomas and I have a separate meeting at 1 o'clock.
all right, my story is really short.
You're gonna make it.
I think we need to bring on the extra person now if we're in a hurry. If we're not in a hurry and want to do it over Judd's 2-year timeline, then yeah, we can not do that differently, but I'd bring him on now.
I
I
don't
think
think that was the issue though, because we have 4 people right now. Bringing them on isn't the issue. It's the getting and the rebuilding and the architecture to get us to that point is 1 to 2 years.
Okay, then I'll
That's where I have.
I'll continue to work with the team and get you a better plan on that. So I'm talking about a single source of input called the time card. We eliminate all these spreadsheets, we eliminate paying hours, everything else. We get everything we need from that worker on the time card app. We strengthen the paymaster so we don't have to do inputs, you know, like on longevity and stuff like that, that there's just a script that does all that stuff. So then we have 2 sources of the data, not all these other ancillary things running around. I think we continue meeting monthly with the payroll team to develop the process controls, documentation, train and agree on needed enhancement. I think there needs to be a way that we prioritize for the developers what the needed enhancements are. And I think right now it's whoever happens to call Ron first, maybe. And I think that's a little bit chaotic. I'm gonna
That's why I chuckled.
skip the next one because I'm not gonna make any promises about
Is this your
saving.
story?
But no. I think building in-house preserves our ability to innovate and builds our ability to design and implement processes that builds our future together. So when I was, let me see, a junior in high school, myself, my older sister, and my dad all taught skiing at Spout Springs, which is a little place in the Blue Mountains outside of Walla Walla.
I know exactly. Been there before many times.
Okay, but years earlier, my dad's pretty frugal. So when I went to start skiing, we got some old wooden skis out of my grandma's attic that my dad had used 20 years before. We put the steel edges on them. We took the bear trap bindings off and put cable bindings on. And I had these leather boots that you lace up and wrap around. Well, everybody else had ski boots, nice bright buckled, brand new skis, right? I would get off the bus, I kid you not, and I would get off and I'd immediately pick snow on my boots so that nobody could see how old they were. I was so embarrassed.
And what's the moral then?
Well, along came Jean-Claude Keely in 1968 and changed skiing entirely. All my friends that had the greatest equipment already got rid of that.
Spent a lot of money on that.
Got rid of that equipment and bought new equipment. And it came to me, I go like, wait, this isn't about the equipment. John Keely changed it because he was the user. He innovated, he used that equipment better than anybody else. And I decided that's my purpose, is to be the best user, to understand the systems and use them well. And that's how I got to be a ski instructor at 16, the youngest guy that I had ever hired, because I learned
used those
skiing.
old
I
boots really
studied
well.
skiing.
Your brown
I
leather boots.
used the skis I had and learned how to do it. Well, my sister was cute. Maybe that was it.
So with that,
With that, I want to say we have the best database SQL. We have a strong front end Delphi. We're surrounded by the best people. Let's ignore the sparkle of tempting systems we can only rent and not own. Instead, let's invest in our people and understand, document, and improve our processes. Then we'll be able to deliver results that will best serve our citizens.
So let's.
I have a comment.
All
I have a
right, thank
question.
you. Thank you
No.
for letting me do.
Yeah,
Just so you know,
you made,
Hope is now on.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
You made Jean-Claude Keely, was it John?
I think so, yeah.
I almost said Van Dam, but I knew that. So, yeah, so, he, I was 3, by the way. But he took a different view at it because he was looking at it from the perspective of the user, right? So I'd like to hear from the user.
Oh, well, that's a great citizen.
It is.
But he
I
used,
want to hear from Julie.
innovated and used the equipment different.
I want to hear from
A best user, a super user.
He was a super.
Julie.
Good morning, commissioners.
I just want to know, I know that you have all of last year sat in conversations with HR, benefits, and the accounting group and Thomas to look over and analyze what we have, what we need, etc. Because you are the one that told me and then I confirmed it with Sam. I also talked to Wendy regarding the rounding errors that we have and the other issues. I'm concerned. I have concerns about the timekeeping system that we have now and its ability to move and progress the way it should with the levels of timekeeping that we have from departments, whether it's sheriffs, roads, Judy, etc. So I want to ask your opinion through all the work that you've done. What would you like to see and what would make your job easier to do for us to get the accuracy that we need? And I reached out to you last week to have that conversation, but you were a bit frazzled trying to get payroll done and W-2s. So I get it. So I just want your feedback, if you don't mind. I apologize if I'm putting you on the spot, but I would appreciate any insight you could give.
Thank you for asking, Commissioner Rains. Personally, I think that we need to purchase software. What we need to do is so in-depth that I don't think just taking what we currently have and modifying it by just solving a few pain points is really going to make it work. If we were to rebuild, it would be a major overhaul, and that would take a couple of years to do, but that's really what we need, because what we have really doesn't solve all of our problems. It doesn't fit the whole payroll process. And I'm not sure how many of you have actually ever processed payroll or understand, how the payroll taxes, benefits, the wages, the job costing or grants, and how all that interacts together. And so it's easy to sit there and kind of look from the surface and say, okay, well, we just fix these few pain points, that'll make it work. It'll make it look a little prettier. It'll make it look a little bit easier to use, but it doesn't really solve all of the problems that we have. And so personally, I believe that, like the NeoGov or something like that would be the best fit for the county. Yes, it costs money, but in the long run, it's going to save us money.
My thing is that, so hear me out. We got 4 people, including Ron, who I would like to have just a granular amount of Ron's technology knowledge, because he is a IT brainchild. He really is. But what if we had a system, and then that would allow these other developers and other staff to be working on other projects that we have, and whether we replace Ron or not, he's irreplaceable, but whether we replace Ron or not, I think is a separate question, but it would get us to a point to where we could have more functionality and be able to move forward on other things with staff. I know Fernando, I think Fernando just needs the desk out here by Rose, because he's down here with Wendy and Rose more than I think he's upstairs a lot, but I think that could be done. And
But that project is progressing well. I mean, bringing him on board, and I mean, we're making big steps forward.
Ron, if you would, I've heard from several people about rounding errors. Maybe you and Jed can talk with Sam about that, if you don't mind. I think it was Sam that I've heard. Sam and Julie were the ones that talked about rounding errors that I can recall, but I whether that's something that would come with this new system or not, I don't. If we bought a system, I think that waiting a year to 2 years to be up and running is a waste of time and money, and is a risk, is the liability for the county as well. I do appreciate the work they do, and Julie asked the question, I don't know how many of you have done payroll, et cetera, et cetera. I have filled out a timesheet before, a time card, but I have never processed payroll. I don't even do the time cards or timesheets anymore. Wendy fills them out for us. So, because we're just straight salary. Except when she did try and give us some vacation.
That wasn't me. That was
The system tried to give us vacation. Yeah, 300 and some hours.
Take one vacation.
But I do think that there is something about stepping into the 21st century. I'm not saying Delphi is bad or anything. I just think that we, I think we'll see benefits right away from an updated system. And when you talk about leasing or renting versus buying and owning, you also comes with them doing the updates. So like we had a big PERS update this year for what PERS contributions are. The maintenance fees that we pay for the software that we get handles all of those internally. It's an update that is provided to us. So we're not having to manually go in with that. It's set by what the state of Washington has approved, et cetera. So I think there is, I do think that the buy a system is potentially a more expensive route, but I think it will be faster and more accurate than building something at this point, and from the non-IT person. So that's just my thought. So
This is a computer doing.
but when we do this, could we do this? Could we let him do his structure, and next week's an action meeting, come back to this on our following non-action meeting and discuss it more? That'll give you 2 weeks.
Yeah, because I don't think we're quite ready to make a decision on Tuesday. But I did want to point out, Molly had a comment up there, and I just want clarification. Molly, if you could jump on, are you saying that you are in favor of us continuing to develop, or are you in a? I'm not quite sure I understand. I want to make sure I know what you're saying.
I would like to see us give Delphi a try. Over the years, Ron has been able to fix every little nuance that we say, hey, can it do this? Can it do that? We don't have to know IT language for Ron to say, okay, so is this what you want it to do? Or is this what you want it to do? And he's been able to completely customize it for us. We're a unique department in our needs for payroll. I get that. And I do not fully understand all the things that Julie needs. I do process payroll outside of here. I understand what she does. I don't know how the current system serves her, and I know it doesn't serve her as well as she'd like it to. I want to support Julie in her needs because they're broader than just our department. So while I support Delphi and I think an internal solution would work, I'm not sure it would take as long as it's been projected to take, maybe a full rebuild, but I think we could find increased efficiencies in a short period of time. We've already put in several efficiencies, I say we, Ron, since our meeting just last couple weeks ago. So I think that I'd like to see us give it a shot. Putting the system on hold while we tried to develop Munis, I think that's what got us to where we are now. If we had been doing these little tweaks as we went along, I don't think it would be as far gone. And we didn't put things on the shelf. We made requests. And our system is functioning well and making improvements. Is it perfect? No, but I have personally used Paycom and Paylocity, and I would not recommend either. So I know that there are other systems out there. They all will need hours of work by our staff. So are we spending our time on Delphi? Are we spending our time on a new system? We're going to be spending the time either way. So that's just I don't actually say, yes, I'm in support of Delphi. Let's not buy a new system. Or yes, let's buy a new system. I'm not in support. I think there are pluses and minuses to both avenues.
Thank you.
Thanks, Molly.
Julie, just really quick, is the main issue, because you said that there's some other issues, but is it because the other departments that are providing payroll and giving that to you are not asking for the same updates or not asking for those problems that they're having to be addressed? So you're you're not getting a good product on your end. I'm probably not saying that correctly, but hopefully you're tracking with what I'm saying.
I think I understand what you're trying to say. What would be nice is, the departments are manually calculating overtime, excluding Molly's because she has, software that does a lot of things for her. But all our other departments, if somebody gets overtime, they have to calculate somebody's hourly rate manually. Then they have to calculate the hourly rate. Then they submit that to me. Now I'm double checking it. Our software, they should be able to just put in this person got 3 hours of overtime and boom, that overtime rate's automatically calculated. And that's imported into the PayCalc software, which then produces payroll, things like that. That all should be done automatically. All the expenditures should be automatically handled within that instead of somebody creating a spreadsheet and saying, well, I want this dollar amount under wages. I want that dollar amount under benefits. And then again, I have to verify the math on all of that. But all of those processes should be done and split out accordingly. And then for the payroll taxes to merge into that and the benefits and all the other pieces, we are so chunky and so manual. That's where a lot of the problems are. But we also need something for the employees, like for their pay stubs. They rely on us handing out the paper. We need to be able to have some kind of portal where they can download those and have access to all those different things. Something that can actually do the payroll taxes. I manually do all of those. And there's a lot of spreadsheets that go along with that too. So there's a lot of different pieces that all link together that's very, very manual. Nothing links in our softwares.
So I wish
Does that
we
make
had a
sense?
portal. I wish we had a portal because I think it would save you time on not just pay stubs, but also W-2s or lost
Direct
step.
deposit,
Do we have-
W-4s for their taxes.
With Delphi?
Our new website has a secure intranet portion of it that our plan is to develop that. If we continue to develop in-house, that would be a portion of it.
But it would have to.
Because all of those pay stubs right now are already produced as PDFs and sitting on our system. It would not be difficult to make them available for download if we had a secure location for them to do that. We just haven't implemented that yet. It's not something we've developed, but it's all the things she mentioned, we could do. None of the one that will take some development obviously is the payroll taxes, because that's something that's up in the manual.
I've been curious, you said you could do them, is the reason people haven't, well, I know that from when Munis started, everything stopped, but it because nobody's gotten back and said, these are the things that I need. Has Julie sat with you and said, look, this is.
Yeah, no, I think that she's made some of those things, aware of some of those things. I think the whole thought was, as far as like the portal to get your pay stubs, that was something that was part of the employee self-service with Munis, so we didn't
Pursue
move forward
it
on. We didn't
because-
pursue that because
right,
it's like we're buying it, and those are the kinds of things you would get like with the NetSuite. That has the portal built into it, has that functionality. When you buy that package, that's part of what you get with it.
All the payroll packages.
It would come with. So, and I know that's one that Julie likes.
I am worried to some degree about paralysis by analysis. Because, this is a really heavy lift, but the decisions that we're going to make are going to impact Grays Harbor for a long time. Okay. So are you done with your portion of the presentation?
Yes, and I really appreciate being able to have this discussion.
I do too.
This is like amazing.
Thank you for everybody else too.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it sounds like we need to put this forward to the next discussion item to discuss again and not move it forward for action.
I made a note of it for the 17th and 24th as possible action and further discussion.
Thank you. Okay.
Before you.
Yes.
Is there anything you need from me for this next discussion meeting?
Well, I need that chart.
At one, you know what?
Okay,
I need that chart of costs again.
I'm sorry.
The chart of all the costs
Yeah,
you're going through.
I
I
was
was
gonna
my
say.
notes.
You sent all of those.
That's also never.
That's
So we are now at 12:36 and we are gonna try and make it through this agenda in short order. So we want to quickly review the countywide organization chart and county administrator organization chart for adoption.
Here's.
I did review this organizational chart. Commissioners, did you all have opportunity to review the organizational chart?
Yeah, so I sent out a revised one this morning, adding WSU extension and Peterborough to be reporting both to me and to the Bowdoin County Commissioners. Other than that, a lot more details are in the county administrators org chart, the color one, that has all the divisions. So please let me know if you have any questions, if you'd like to see any other changes. The county, this org chart, the county org chart will be going to the budget book. The county administrator one will not be going to the budget.
Except in, it's not on here, but the commissioners
So
are.
this one's.
Right,
going-
sure.
This one's.
This, yeah, so this is basically
Yeah.
like this.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, Commissioners above me, yes.
Okay.
Good job.
Is there any other questions on that? Yay, let's move down.
Are we approving this as well?
Aren't we approving it next week?
No, I'm just saying, are we, Commissioner Miller just said, okay, good, we're gonna move forward on this. Are we moving forward on this too, or is this just additional information?
This is additional information.
Yes.
We're not approving it next week.
Actually, the request was to do away with the liaison list, and this is the only record of the county administrator assignments. So my recommendation was to adopt them side by side because it gives the
I
authority that
gotcha.
is
Okay.
no longer going to
Both
be
of these.
included in this document.
Yes, there's-
So is there
But
any,
there are things on that that aren't even listed here.
There,
Like
the
the-
only other thing on here is elected to elected assignments, and I have some language to include on the version to adopt that would reflect the expectation that,
So you're gonna have that go with this?
no, this is going away. The liaison assignment, the request was the liaison assignment list goes
Right,
away.
right.
And to cover the county administrator assignments, we have that. To cover the no longer existent elected to elected assignments, there's language that I proposed an email to add to that chart that clarifies that electeds will communicate to each other, basically.
So my question is that there are assignments on that form in your hand that aren't listed here.
The only ones are the commissioner assignments to other elected officials.
No, like down below under Sam's, it's
Yeah.
got like the law and justice. Where does that fall on here? Because
Oh.
Okay, these are two separate lists that you're referring to
Right.
now. So what you're referring to is the commissioner assignment list. That's number 5 on the agenda for
Mhm.
discussion. What I'm talking about is the liaison assignments. Those are two separate lists.
right, I just want to make sure,
Yes. Good point.
when you said that the comment was made that, or at least that I heard, is that this is the county administrator's assignments, and so I was thinking that it was beyond that list.
I apologize. I meant
No,
for like
they've been me. I'm not,
supervisor authority, to be clear. I mean,
No,
that was what I was.
So we
I
are,
think it actually says, wait,
are we?
oh, it
in
says
alignment?
assignments on this list. I probably did say that because this was considered an assignment list, but that was a mistake.
did you read the email with the language that would be attached with it? I think the what we're trying to convey to other departments, elected officials, is that, look, if you want the complete board to be making educated decisions, that you would be coming to the complete board to give us information so that we all have the same information. So the liaison assignments were problematic, and that some departments were only going to one, and then the other commissioners didn't have all that information. So it is vital, if we're going to make budgetary decisions on people's departments, that those department heads make sure that we're all in the know so that we're making educated decisions.
I don't disagree with that sentiment that we should all be in the know, but I think this going from one commissioner to another commissioner is kind of archaic. and it just consumes a lot of extra time. Why can't we do more in either a
workshop?
a discussion like this or an executive workshop or
We
something?
can't use, most of it should be happening during the discussion, non-action
Well,
meeting.
that's what I'm hopeful
But
for,
all-
because I think it's just a waste of somebody's time, a senior manager having to come spend 45 minutes with you, and then 45 minutes with me, and then 45 minutes with Commissioner Reigns to exchange the same data. It just seems,
Well,
But most of
seems
it was
totally
supposed to
inefficient
go
to me.
most
I
of
mean-
it was supposed to go to Sam and then Sam come to
I
us.
mean, that,
And so if that's not, if a department isn't going to Sam and says just going to you, then you're not able to share that information with me and Commissioner Reigns.
well,
and
I usually
so-
do it in a discussion meeting like this. I try to.
I think
share
that that's great.
I
I'm
think,
just-
I think there are things that the county administrator doesn't need to convey to us, like, for example, I want a one-on-one so I can ask questions of Kyle Scott if there's rate increases in that.
Sure,
I want that.
sure.
But
if
someone
he
else
doesn't-
may not.
But if he
Don't get me
doesn't,
wrong,
if
I'm not-
he's having a rate increase and he doesn't say something to Sam and only says something to you, and then we're in the dark and don't have the
No,
ability to
that's
make an
fine.
educated decision, well, then the onus is on the department. And Kyle, you've done a great job with letting us all know, so sorry, we're using you as the example.
Only an example.
Right, right, so yeah, so this is just,
But some of us may have questions that the others may not, to where it
absolutely.
may not, I mean, I just made that comment and Commissioner Hall went. And so it may not mean anything to him, but I may want to ask a question on it. You see
Absolutely,
what I'm saying?
absolutely.
That's fine.
So the bigger point is that the onus is, instead of the liaison assignments and you're assigned, the onus is on the departments to make sure that we're all getting the same information. And if they don't make sure we're all getting the same information, then they shouldn't be surprised if we're not making educated decisions. Fair?
Are you talking about the departments now, or are you talking about the separately electeds?
Both.
Separately.
Absolutely, if the electeds have something that they're bringing in front of the commission for decision, especially if it has to do with the budget, then they would need to make sure that all the commissioners have the same information to make an educated
There are
decision.
times though that things, maybe you want to have that discussion prior to.
100%. I'm not saying at an open meeting, if they want to go one-on-one to the commissioners, or if they just simply
That's what
want
I'm
to say
saying.
they, right.
But that just
We're saying
doesn't.
the
We're all
same
saying the
thing.
same thing. I
We're
think
saying
we're all
the same thing.
okay with the liaison assignments.
I'm in support of this. So, are we okay with this moving forward to the action meeting? Great,
I'm
okay,
okay with it.
great. Now we can
Yeah.
move on to countywide donation acceptance policy established by resolution.
I need to make some changes to it before it's finalized to bring forward next week.
Okay, so we'll move it to the 17th. For discussion with the changes.
Well, the changes are more like clerical, not substantive.
Yeah, so is there
So I can
any
fix
reason you
it
can
by
just
Tuesday.
present it?
by next week. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And the major change in the policy from what we had before is to allow cash donation.
I read the policy, I mean.
I
these
think
are
that's the
clerical
clerical
changes,
things
great.
I need to change.
So can we move
Hopefully we
that?
all read it.
Yeah, can we move that forward then? And then next was the addition, this was the commissioners, representation board and committees. I am only asking for, I've reviewed everything, I'm asking for a change. I'm hoping that one of the two of you would be willing to take on, it is a very quick meeting, but it happens to conflict with another meeting I have. The disability board, it meets the third Thursday at 9:30 a.m. It really and truly is like a 5 to 10 minute meeting tops,
If that,
if that, but
Isn't that when we do the health?
It's the left committee.
law enforcement
Yeah.
officers.
Yeah, no,
I
I
have two
and
conflicts.
disability.
I have two
I
conflicts.
think that was,
at the same time.
I think that conflicts with the health.
It does. So
Yeah.
what I typically do is I log on via Zoom to the health board meeting. I run in there and sign the documents so that they can make quorum, and then I say, see ya, thank you so much, and I get back on the.
Can we change them to a different time?
Would you be willing
I'll-
to take this on and ask them about that? I'm not willing, because I have flood authority.
I'd like to attend in person, but yeah, I'll see if we can switch to a different
Would
time.
you please make note that
They've been
Commissioner
doing it
Hole
for
is
like
taking over?
20 years. It's kind of like,
And then the other thing, I would like to, assign, I think you've been, attending them anyway, the, Veterans Advisory Board. It might be just fine that Wilma Weber, she's already chairing that, if she just takes on the designation for the board. But if not, if it could be you, Sam, but between you or.
I
Wilma,
try to
the
attend,
two of
I
you.
try to attend that meeting.
Yeah, so that would be great. So that would be the change is,
just.
Just make sure to report back, that's all
yeah, just let us.
I just have gifts for the veterans.
Okay. So, with that, you got another thing done.
Can I just ask,
Yeah.
do we have any other further changes? I've captured all of yours. And I was
There you
I didn't forget any of this
Can
version.
you just update it and send it out as a final? That would be great.
That would be great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. So next we have, that is all for commissioners. Yay. Fair and events and tourism. If anybody still stayed with us. We have, well, we had some items for review. Is there anything anybody needs to talk about on these, or can we just move on to management services?
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Great. So let's move down to proposed amendment to resolution 2022-055, establishing employee training plan. And I think we have Steve here to talk to us about it. Hi.
I do. Good afternoon. It's been a long day.
It's not over. We
Oh,
haven't even got to the fun stuff yet.
Well, thanks for having me. I had intended last week to round with the commissioners individually and the best laid plan.
We're not supposed to do that.
Well, I'm glad you're doing it now.
But I did pitch out a very long one. I'm expecting you to have the opportunity to read it. In short, I'm here today to talk about the proposed amendment to a resolution. This resolution is an old employee training plan resolution. And the reason why I want to amend it is because we are just wrapping up the corrective action on the jail fire. So L&I, as you recall, L&I had issued a series of citations as a result of the jail fire. A whole team of folks have been working on the corrective action around those. Georgia Stearns, Chief Davis, Under Sheriff Schrader in the sheriff's office. And the last corrective action was to update our accident prevention plan. We actually call that here in county the safety and loss control manual. It's very old, but L&I allows us to call our accident prevention program anything we want.
I don't even think at the risk pool we call it that, we don't have loss control anymore.
Yeah, so another opportunity for future fixing is to rebrand this in its entirety. The one thing that L&I had identified was that in this, we didn't have any policy or a chapter on just fire safety and fire extinguisher use. So that's the last corrective action piece that we needed to zip up. And so the proposed amendment is to recognize that fire safety and fire extinguisher safety is important. Add a chapter in here, which I have done, and then also make sure that our fire extinguisher training that I'm rolling out on an annual basis is captured in a resolution. So this is just a vehicle using an existing resolution that talks about the safety and well-being of our staff to roll in some fire safety and fire extinguisher safety information. That is it.
Great.
I don't have any questions.
What about questions?
Good job. Where's the manual found?
This manual is online. We give it to all brand new employees when they start.
Okay.
We'll continue to do that. We do need to update other parts of it. It's very long. It does not need to be this long. L&I has made it clear the longer this manual is, the least likely it is that staff will actually absorb it. We're looking for more streamlined accident prevention programs.
I'm gonna quote you on that as we're making procedures.
Yes,
and
streamlined.
policies for our county. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I said to Thomas, a one page, let's have one page procedures.
So opportunities here, LMI has been very gracious and patient with all the work that we have done. They know that we've got a lot more to do, but they were happy to know that we were meeting today to talk about that kind of things.
Another thing you might do too is reach out to the risk pool and see what other jurisdictions are doing. You might be able to look at something that's comparable to us, not necessarily
Yeah.
King or Pierce County or something, but maybe Lewis County, Cowlitz County, that we can plagiarize.
I've started to gather other county APPs, and they're all very short and streamlined, and you're right, we can poach from those without having to reinvent the wheel.
Poach, plagiarize.
That
works.
works. You bet.
That works. Thank you.
Thank you for your work that you're doing. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's it takes a village. A lot of folks were instrumental in this. Again, Sheriff's Office staff and Georgia Stearns. So
Fantastic.
So next we have the review changes. Thank you. We have the review changes to the fire protection service allocation and the public safety sales tax fund.
The only change in that is the Fire District 7 and Fire District 16 merged. So the $10,000 allocation goes away. It goes back into the fold for the $200,000, and then it just becomes part of the distributed amount per population.
Yep. Anybody questions?
And we may have more coming forward in the future with some of the other fire districts.
More mergers.
Okay, so that can move forward.
Countywide.
Management services, we have a proposed amendment to resolution 2022-55. Did I
Wait a
miss
minute,
something? Sorry, I did.
You're down to
Prosecutors.
I went back up here to tourism anyway. Yes, for prosecutors, agenda item 2, authorization to hire legal assistant due to resignation.
So, I don't have any issue. So move it forward to next week.
I was telling this to Sam, and I might as well share it with you guys, that I think that when we have vacancies, we should hire them as quickly. Get it full staff.
As long as this is in line with the hiring freeze.
Right, that's
And
what
as-
this
Well,
is not, right?
I'm under the assumption, maybe you are too, that if it gets to us on this point, you've already decided that it bypasses and passed the smell test on the hiring freeze.
I would assume so, that it's gone through all the proper
Well,
channels.
I mean, we have a hiring freeze in place
Right.
and there's bullet points on what qualifies to bypass that. I'm assuming that to get it to here, it has to go through the county.
Is that a good assumption?
That is a good assumption, except.
There's some gaps.
Yes.
Oh, no.
These items that you're looking at today are review items. There isn't any details pertinent to the action. So if you looked at the agenda for 210 to see the 210 submission where the action's been presented, you wouldn't see any of the approvals that you're relying on.
But
Because I noticed that too, when I was looking at like the documents and the cover sheet, it just doesn't have as much information like pay range and stuff like that as it would on.
Correct, because we're
Well,
honoring
it's not there yet,
the
right.
board to review items prior to taking action, and we tried to make exceptions for authorizations to hire, and it was not a consistent enough process, so we're following the same process as all agenda items for personnel actions.
But is
So
it acceptable for us to assume for departments under the commissioner's purview that it's all routed through?
It's the separately elected officials
Okay.
that may not be.
Then I think that's
Adequate
easier to make, to look at. And then if I have a question, for example, on this legal assistant thing, I can call Georgia or
Correct.
whoever. Okay, great, that's great.
And we hold the deadlines are the same, so the assumption is if you see a review item, that the action item has been submitted, so you would just need to go to the subsequent action meeting to review any details.
But it may not be there yet.
No, the deadline's the same. That's by design.
Okay.
So that the information for the decision is available at the time of review, which was the requested.
Thank you.
So next we have a request to hire a fiscal operations supervisor under public health. Is Mike on? There he is. Hi, Mike.
Good morning.
Do you want to speak to your position?
Sure. As you may know, this is Mike McNichol, Grace Harbor County Public Health. We have a number of vacant positions Currently, due to some issues in our fiscal department, we need to step that up, and we need someone to help Tina with the audit functions of our department in fiscal, because it's becoming overwhelming. What SAO wants and needs almost on a daily basis is literally making her thinking about retirement early. So I'd rather have that not happen in order to help her. She's requested some staff. So that's what the purpose of this for. It is not general fund. It is all grant funded.
Thank you.
Thank you. And what I should have said is realize that was an item for review. Does anybody have, I'm sorry, Mike, does anybody have a question on that or the second amendment to agreement between Grace Harbor County and John Boucher MD? No questions. Okay. So then the discussion item would be change order for the completion of the new door lock project in the amount of $35,936.05. I did read your letter that you said that just some missed areas, critical areas when they did the initial walkthroughs and all of that. So you're adding some more locks to your department.
Correct. Yeah. We're just trying to finish the job because right now it's not finished.
Yeah.
And not impact general fund.
And it's not general fund, right?
I don't have any questions.
I don't have any
I don't have any
questions.
questions.
That can move forward. So next we have public services. Does anybody have anything they want to discuss on the first two items? Otherwise, we can move down to the first amendment to interdepartmental agreement between economic development and utilities. Is that you, Kyle?
It's me, correct.
Come on, come on down.
Run over here.
Contestant.
It's just right over here.
That's close. No, this is, I think, pretty easy one. We were already under contract with Point 09 to do some work out water line extension. We have finished that work. We have money left on the contract. And we are coming back to just spend the rest of it within some work that wasn't identified in the original scope. So we went out and made well improvements. We made an intertie to a well, did all kinds of things, but what we haven't made is actual improvements to the well site. We didn't think we had enough money. We had some dollars left over. We're going to be able to make improvements to the well site, filtration, chlorination and stuff. If we were to be able to intertie, it wouldn't be raw water, be actual chlorinated, usable water for our customers. So no additional cost. It just wasn't identified in the original request scope, so we had asked for an amendment.
Okay. So how many
good.
issues?
Have any questions on that?
Forward.
So we have the camera system replacement for roads and ER and R maintenance facilities.
I don't have any questions.
I don't have any questions on that either. Did you have questions? Maintenance agreement with EGHFR for ER and R services. I don't have any questions on that either. Seems pretty.
No, but it did bring up another item that we have with, apparently Grace Harbor Fire District 5, East Grace Harbor Fire District. We need to have a conversation on the water issue that they're using, water at the fairgrounds. I mean, like $4,000 worth of water recently.
That's a lot of water.
So that's where the bill is going at. They said that they had an issue out there, but they didn't.
Not a leak, no, it's that they allowed flushing of hoses, and they do like hose testing.
Okay.
And they had that agency and another small agency that Mike said he believed was Quinault, but we need to have a policy in place that if someone's going to do that, they pay for that.
Can we add that to a discussion item for the next discussion meeting so that we can, will you have?
Right.
I'll send you the information.
Love to. Just want to be clear, that's not our water.
Oh,
This is city water, right?
Say that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is sitting down.
okay.
I'll send the information out though.
Okay.
So.
So
But
That's
we're
not-
allowing the use on our property of our hydrants that the city of Elma is billing us for.
right, okay, so it's not our water, but we're paying for it, so it is our water.
It's our bill.
But it's
Yeah,
not,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not your water.
It's not just
It's not
connection.
Grace Harbor County.
So we'll move that forward and discuss that, so if we can get some information. Awesome, thank you for bringing that to our attention, Commissioner Rains. Let's see, so we have an item for review on Superior Court. I don't have a question on that.
I did have some changes to that contract that we let Wendy know about, and hopefully they resubmitted the form.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that what you wanted them to do, Wendy? To resubmit and on base or give it to you directly? No, I had gone into the action item that should have already been in the system when the changes were made, so we'll just have to double check on that, make sure that the right version got in there. I'm not aware of it.
Yeah.
I haven't touched that agenda yet. It was a busy week last week.
No worries.
Yeah, and then we just had an item for review for the treasurer, and if there's any, I don't have any questions on that.
any questions.
So then we would move down to the discussion on two items for WSU that was added to the agenda. Dan, are you still with us? God bless you. Is he here?
Oh, it looks like Andrew's there.
Oh,
That's interesting.
oh, you were upside down.
Oh my goodness. Oh, there's Dan.
The other Dan.
Oh, sorry, other Dan.
I'm going off video. My camera is always messed up.
Yeah.
So, I'm here. So, yes, how can I help you?
Well, he had two discussion items for WSU. I'm not sure what he wanted.
Just to be clear, they weren't discussion, they were action items that were submitted for the 10th.
Oh, yes.
Two items that did not have reviews submitted, so this was to address that. Andrea, could you just give them a high level overview of the two action items?
Sure. Yes. So the first action item is for our annual just renewal for our MOA. We do that this time of year. It's we come before the commission, talk a little bit about our program and have those signatures done. And then the second item is for a signature for our WICRI grant. This was somehow missed earlier or at the end of last year. And it's for our grant funding for the noxious weeds department. So
I don't.
Okay, this is just formality
Housekeeping.
to have the discussion prior to. So we'll move both of those things forward for the next action meeting on Tuesday. Thank you.
Yep, you bet. Thank you.
So now we have our last opportunity for public comment on county items, limited to 3 minutes. Please type your comment in the chat box or raise your hand to speak. I believe we still don't have anybody out in the main room. So is there any chats? I did want to comment really quick that Coroner George Kelly did mention that there was House Bill 2094 that they're also looking to appoint the coroner. So if you would rather your coroner be elected than appointed, please reach out to your elected officials and tell them that you do not support the House Bill 2094. Thank you.
I did text Coroner Kelly and ask him to reach out to you because when I was doing the review that he was commenting on, it was for the risk pool.
Oh,
And so I figured you would take that back to the Wasatch.
absolutely.
Or-
Yep. Yep.
Same with the sheriff.
Yep. Okay. So if we don't have any public comment,
Can we take a 5-minute recess before we go into executive session?
yes, we're going to take a 5-minute recess before we go into executive session. We're going to do I have to do?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that, I'll give you your timing. Go ahead.
Okay. So we're doing executive session under RCW 42.30.110 section I subsection G, performance of a public employee. How many minutes are we?
I, G, and C.
We're doing I, C, and G.
I, C, and G, yes.
I, C, and two.
With potential action.
Two I's, a G, a C.
Okay.
Total of.
Okay, you are correct. I, C, G, 2 topics under I, one topic under C, 2 topics under G, a total of 60 minutes.
And then with potential action, is that correct?
Yeah, the board will, after the executive session reconvene, there's always the potential for action, so we'll just let them know when we reconvene. All right, so we're gonna take a 5-minute recess first and then go straight into executive session.
And just to be clear for the record, that puts the end time at 2:10 without extensions. If there's any extensions requested, I will announce them.
Thank you.
Can't hear that, but it is
40.
recording. Go ahead.
Welcome back to our February 3rd, 2026 meeting. We've just come out of executive session under RCW 42.30.110, section 1. We had two topics under subsection G lasting for 15 minutes. One topic under section C lasting for 5 minutes, one topic under section I lasting for 40 minutes, for a total of 60 minutes. And with that, do I have a motion? Oh, no action was taken, no decisions were, no action was taken, no votes, no decisions were made.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
We are adjourned. Thank you so much.